Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jim Masters Show live. How are all of you? Good to see you. Nice to see those smiley faces. Hope everybody had a fantastic Valentine's Day weekend. We sure did. As a matter of fact, we did a Valentine's themed host chat lovely episode that was epic. I think we went almost 3 hours, didn't we? Just chatting with each other and celebrating Valentine's Day over the weekend with one of our very special host chat viewer episodes. We like to do that sometimes, in addition to having extraordinary guests from all around the world and fields of endeavor, wealths of success, and genres of life. We like to sometimes do a host chat episode directly with me and all of you, the Lovities, as they call themselves. You guys are the Lovity viewers, which I think is pretty cool. As I said earlier back, I think it was in April when we launched the show, some almost 300 episodes ago. This is the Jim Masters Show Live, which is an entertainment lifestyle talk show series patterned after some of the old traditional talk show styles of before, like Dick Clark and Dick Cavett, Mike Douglas, Merv Griffin, Johnny Carson, Steve Allen, David Susskind, where we're bringing back the lost art of conversation with a modern vibe and a modern twist, with inspiration, levity, surprises, and of course, our famous Lovity, which was a mistake. Actually, it's not a mistake. You know, a couple of people said, you know what? It wasn't a mistake. It was meant to be. It reflects you and it reflects your show, Jim. So that's how I'm looking at it. But verbally, it was a slip of the tongue when I was saying light, love, and levity is what the show is all about. It has sort of that bent. And I said levity when I said love and levity a little too fast in the summer. So the viewers love it. The guests have loved that word. So our show is pretty much about a lot of levity. And boy, the world can really use more of that about now, huh? So the viewers call themselves the Lovities. They call me Mr. Lovity. They call this, which is the home studio we built here in the greater New York area, along the southern New England coast between New York and Boston. They call this Lovity Hall, and that's what it is. This show is an extension of my professional work in television, radio, multimedia as a TV and radio personality, presenter, host, journalist, actor, writer, producer, stage MC, and voice artist. And it's just been extraordinary. The amount of people we've had come through here as extraordinary guests from all walks of life and backgrounds. And the love from the viewers themselves, or the Lovities, is epic. So we thank you very much and we welcome you. We've got an extraordinary guest tonight, Will Donato, who is a profoundly beloved saxophonist and composer, smooth jazz and more. And, you know, in addition to just being super talent, he's also a great guy too. He's down to earth. He's funny. He has a good time and loves what he does, and he shares it with the world. And that's really epic. And, you know, he's celebrating something really, really special. We'll talk about it in just a second. He also has a very inspiring story, a personal story he's going to share with us that might be inspiring to you as well. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. But he is really somebody who's paid his dues. He's somebody who's really a super talent, not only with saxophone, but just in the music realm. And I have, you know, all of his material. I've had it for a long time, and a lot of his contemporaries and collaborators as well. You know, some of the other greats, which he definitely is. And it's my honor to have him on the show. He's going to be with us in just a second. He's got a very special instrument. I know there's, you know, the sax, the alto that you'd probably be thinking, the big one that he's going to have, right? He's got a surprise for you. Hey, we welcome you and we toast all of you in style here on the Jim Masters Show Live. How are all of you? We thank you very much for joining us. We welcome everybody, and let's dive in quick and see if we can get a couple of comments coming in here. Dante CD, one of our Lovity viewers, says, hello, all Lovities. He's watching in San Diego, California. Matter of fact, our guest, Will, is in Palm Springs, California right now. Beautiful place. We have cousins out there. Welcome to Lovity Hall. This will be another super amazing live show hosted by our Mr. Lovity with a magnetic personality. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dante CD. Please put that in writing and address it management. That my father has always said that when somebody says something nice, tell them to put it in writing and address it management. Willie is watching in Holland in the Netherlands. Hello, dear friends. We are complete. again, watching Jim together again. Thank you very much. In the beautiful Netherlands, and there's the tulips as well, Willie. Kathy Short watching in Cleveland, Ohio. Good to see you tonight, Kathy. Good evening, Jim, our lovely family. So nice to be here tonight. And Merlin is here watching from Innerkip, Ontario, Canada. Hello, Jim and Lovety family. I told Will all about the whole Lovety bag that we've got going on here. He loves it. He loves it. All of our guests and viewers love it. I think it's really cool. Maureen is here. Hello, Lovety family. My hospital's electronic medical record system crashed today, so I actually got out on time, and I'm happy to be here. So happy to be here. I've missed you all. She works in the medical field, one of the first responders. God bless her. And a beautiful thing that you do. We have so many comments coming in here. Mary Bishop is here from Florida. Hello, Jim and Lovely friends. Good to see you. Terry Silva says, hi, all. Welcome to our show. Anybody watching on the YouTube channel, we would love it if you subscribe to the channel at Jim Masters TV. Ann Wozniak is here. Nice to see you, Ann. Hello, Jim and everyone. So happy we're back together. Absolutely. And Merlin says ditto, Ann. She is saying that as well. And really nice to see so many people here with us today. Juanita from South Africa, one of our regular Lovety viewers is here. Hello, Jim and Lovety family. Good to see everybody. Good to see you as well, Juanita. Hope you had a good day and everything's going well. Jennifer Barry is all zen. She's drinking cold chocolate milk on the couch under a blanket. Jen is zen. She's in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and in North Carolina, USA. Hi, Jim and Loveties. Welcome, jazz saxophonist, composer Will Donato to the show tonight. Another amazing conversation with super music, and soon coming in Lovety Hall. You better believe it. This is Lovety Hall. Thanks, Christine. It's good to see you. Linda Odell in St. Augustine, Florida. Good evening, Jim, Mr. Lovety, and good evening, Loveties. Good to see you as well. And a couple more here, and then we will welcome our very special guest. Cool shirt, Jim. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Good to see you, Juanita. Amy is here, the wonderful poet. Hello, all. Good to see you as well. And so many more comments coming in here. We're so honored to have all of you here. Again, we are very viewer-centric. We like to pay it forward and make sure that our viewers are acknowledged greatly, and we thank them for being here. We thank you. Talk about a shirt. You think you like my shirt? What about that shirt? Now, that is a cool shirt and a cool guy wearing the shirt. It's my honor to welcome live and direct from Palm Springs, California, the award-winning, the renowned smooth jazz saxophonist and composer, Will Donato, joining us. Will, oh, I love that. I love that.
It's a Lovety symbol.
Yeah, that's what everybody's doing, the heart, right? It's like that. There we go. You love the Lovety, don't you?
I know. I love that. That's a great song title. You know, I got to give you a compliment. You know, I call that a stream of consciousness. You can talk positively. Most people, when you give them a mic, they got about 2 sentences and they're done. I was blown away by that. I'm going to give you a...
Why, thank you. Why, thank you. Why, thank you. Well, somebody else that I think concurs is our friend George Burns. He's my sidekick with his cigar. He's like my Ed McMahon. He's always here making sure everything is under control. And he's always with his, you know, tux and his tie and his red hanky and his cigar. So levity and lovety. That's what you got to have, right?
Yes.
So you were telling me before we went live on the air, here I am saying how much of a fan of you I am. You've been watching some of these episodes and sampling some of the Jim Masters show live and sort of enjoying it. I appreciate that.
No, you know, it's funny. It reminds me of a joke. An actor, a playwright, a director, a TV host walks into the bar, and it's one guy. It's Jim Masters.
That's in good company. In good company with my mirror, mirror image. So I appreciate that, Will, and I'm so pleased that you're very busy and recording. You've got some really exciting things as elevate. Talk about levity and positivity and inspiration. I mean, the name of yours is Elevate. I mean, how much more clear and positive can you get than that? We all need to be elevated, right?
Yes. You know, it's funny when you play instrumental music, you've got very few ways to communicate your message because you don't have vocals. So I really make sure my titles at least uplift and inspire. So sometimes going through the album, I just make sure everything kind of tells a story of a good point of view, and you know,
Yeah, that's really
elevate.
cool.
Elevate is the way to go.
Absolutely. Now, congratulations too, because you have some really cool things that have been happening. You were telling me about, I mean, you and your team are buzzing from the recent 2 million stream milestone for your
Spotify.
recent #1 Billboard single, Infinite Soul. I mean, that's incredible.
It's funny because, well, first of all, I got to tell you something. I was so charmed by the introductory comments from your guests and the folks that are watching. I really like to interact. So if you are enjoying Jim and you support Jim, send an email to my website and I'll send you a download. If you let me pick something loving, I'll send you a download of a song that really I think is inspiring. And you do need a computer to do this, or an internet machine, right?
Right. The internet machine. That's right.
But
That is
send an email. My website, willdonato.com, is so easy to track. And just, I will send a download to you and I will make sure that it's a great tune for you. I appreciate you, Jim. It's just been so fun already. The
this
pre-interview.
Oh, absolutely. This is my pleasure. Let's go back in time a little bit before we get to some of the current events and the amazing things that have happened in your life. What were some of the early inspirations for you, Will, growing up? Musical family, surrounded by music. How did you first get your feet wet? And what was it specifically about the sound of the sultry saxophone that grabbed you early on in your youth?
Well, it's funny. I grew up in an Army family. And instead of looking that as a negative, I always liked that we had new adventures. I didn't regret going to a new location. So it's made me very adaptable for change. Um, and in that upbringing, we lived on Army bases. They were multicultural and multiracial, and we only knew that growing up. And then the music, when I got older, reflected that interest. I think I was listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire and Curtis Mayfield in my late teens. And that's when I first heard the saxophone in that kind of music. And I just was mesmerized. There's a song, Me and Mrs. Jones, and Reasons from Earth, Wind, and Fire. When I heard the saxophone in those, that was it. And my father brought me a saxophone home when I was 14. And then that summer I went to University of Colorado band camp, and I was like 14 and a half. And I became lead alto in the college summer program. And there's some hilarious pictures of me, Jim, with like a little kid haircut. And I was in a band with these old guys. There were some old guys that were 21 in the band. So
They were the old guys, right?
yeah, they were old guys. And I'm like this little guy, like Canadian, like lead alto in a band. And, I had a traditional trajectory where I was in my own bands in high school. And then
That's not easy to say that. Traditional trajectory. How did you say that without stumbling over your gums there? I had a traditional trajectory. That was very good. Smooth,
well,
smooth as silk.
I do a show with my friend Jack Cohen in California, and we've had the pleasure, like you do, of interviewing a lot of musicians. And I am so fascinated by the arc of people's musical journeys. Some are the regular elementary school band to high school to professional music. Some young folks get in a band like Chicago or something, and they just end up being a professional musician right out of high school. So there's all kinds of journeys, but I'm very fascinated by people's how they arrive there. And I had pretty much the elementary, high school music education, and then I got in a band on MCA Records called the Untouchables when I was young, and started touring and having a ball being on that label. It was a reggae kind of ska band, and that one thing led to another. I should say yada yada yada. And I'm here on Jim Masters' show.
Here you are, and you're a lovety. They already said you're a lovety. So, as I say to a lot of the guests, well, there are Grammys and Tonys and Peabodys and Oscars and Tellys and all these fabulous awards that we all try to accrue in these industries. But then there's a Lovity from the Jim Masters Show live. And people say that they've finally made it in their careers when they get the Lovity, and they're usually that their feet are tingling. Are your feet tingling about now?
Yeah, you know that they are, and I'm a Lovation now. I'm going to be a former. I'll be a Lovation. I'm going to put an adjective to that. But
A
that's
Lovation.
that's such a great word. You know, I love words, and I've put all kinds of permutations together for song titles. I've not heard Lovity.
Yeah, we just happened to, I stumbled on it and it just came to be, and it's just stuck with the whole
It's amazing.
concept of the show, which is really cool. What were some of you mentioned some of the influences early on, and then what would be some of those breaks, those opportunities that came your way, Will, that started to really, get that river flowing and those doors opening for you, where you were noticed, you were getting a chance to play and really hone your skills along the way?
You know, I feel really lucky as a musician when I came up the ranks because, I think New York was the same. There was a period, let's just say the late 80s, early 90s. I'm sure I remember seeing playbills in New York. There was like the Ramones, there was clubs, there were in Los Angeles. It was incredible. We had, you probably know some of the names because a lot of groups like the Police played there, but we had things like the Whiskey A Go Go, the Roxy, the FM station. We had the Palace. I got to play all those venues when I was coming up. And in that journey, I was, playing in a band on MCA Records. There was a pop star who was huge in the late 80s, Richard Marx, with the big hair. A fantastic guy. So
yeah.
Dave Koz was his saxophone player before he left and went solo. So they scouted me, and I was the next in line to take Dave's spot in that. And I did. There's a video on YouTube. I have a mullet and cowboy boots, and and it was called Angelia, a beautiful song from Richard Marx.
Oh yes,
it's a great
I love that song. Yeah,
and I'm in the video. When it's a pop star, you got to blink. You don't
Angelia. Blink. Yeah. No, that's a great song. Yeah.
And Jim filming that video, and you try to play it cool, but you're literally looking at a guy at that time who was huge in the world. And I remember sitting next to him at lunch and trying not to stare at this big ball of burgundy hair. And I was so thrilled to be on set. It was this beautiful barn in Santa Barbara with the sunlight coming through the barn. It was incredible. It was high dollar video stuff. And
that was, yeah.
So I was in that video, and I was slated to go on tour. Well, something happened to Richard then. It's just a funny thing when you're a pro sideman, things can happen. He went on break for 3 years, and I was ready to do a rock tour, the long tours. And so then that stopped. But what happened to me, it was kind of fortuitous. I can't spell it, but I can pronounce it. Fortuitous. How many W's are in fortuitous? I'm not sure. Anyway, that being said,
we just know that it's an F word.
I thought it was PH, but
yeah. Tonight it is.
Yeah. So I went into smooth jazz when Richard's thing didn't happen, and then I met a gentleman from the Rippingtons, Steve Reed. Remember that colorful percussionist?
Sure, yeah. Love the Rippingtons.
I became in his offshoot band, and the rest is history. I just like the names we talked about in the pre-interview. I met, Steve Oliver, Jay Rowe, Jeff Koshua, all these.
Jay Rowe is a personal friend of mine, right?
I love Jay Rowe is a great.
Rick Braun, you've worked with.
Rick Braun, Dave Koz. So I had a chance to start meeting, and just like the fans of your show, if you make quality content with a good intent, you will keep a fan base for maybe 20, 30 years. These folks like Rick Braun and Dave Koz, I'm in awe of their connection and their continuity, their fan base. My daughter,
Tom Scott is another one.
Oh, I love Tom Scott.
Tom Scott, yeah.
But my daughter, the kids, they switch bands every 6 months. But our fan base, there, people really well. It's a one-on-one format, and that's so me. I love that. I like being close to people. I like chatting, and that I came in when you're talking about the Rippingtons, when my solo career started, when things got a little more difficult, where you had to fly into a town and pick up a house band and send your music ahead. But that's all I knew, Jim. So when
Yeah.
people say, isn't it hard that you have to stay up all night and take a flight and land at 3:30 and have a sound check? No, that's what we do, isn't it? So I never knew that wasn't hard. So, but it's like your show. You have to do that to get the music from your home to another destination. So it's, when I hear another artist complain about having to park or get on a flight, I'm thinking, you haven't even got to the show yet, and you're complaining about the ergonomics. This is where my tail is wagging, because I know I'm going to go and entertain people. So
right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you really, really love doing it. And again, congratulations on, these amazing things that have been happening with the #1 spot on Billboard and so much more. I just want to let people know too that you do celebrate each day, and you've shared the stage as a guest at the Blue Note in New York City, the Sea Breeze Jazz Festival, and so much more. You were even on stage in Portugal. We have viewers that do watch the show. We have an international audience, so folks watching from Portugal, the Rehoboth Beach Jazz Festival, Humphreys by the Bay, Capital Jazz Cruise, Rick Braun's New Year's Eve.
Right.
And you've had an opportunity to play with some of the best known musicians of the groove and smooth jazz genre, which I've absolutely loved. Al McKay mentioned Earth, Wind, and Fire earlier, which is incredible. Another one, Richard Elliott, of course.
Oh, yes.
Bruce Conti of Tower of Power, Steve Reed of the Rippingtons, as you said, Brian Simpson, Steve Oliver. Really incredible people.
Tony Childs. You might know that name. I loved Tony Childs. She was a rocker singer. And because of her, I still get a check, because I played in the movie Thelma and Louise.
Okay.
The scene, Jim, where those two ladies hit the gas pedal and they go over the cliff, like, whoa, we're doing this.
Right.
I was on it was called House of Hope, and meeting Tony Childs, I was kind of mesmerized.
That's got to be, yeah.
Really,
isn't that incredible?
Great. And some people, they hit their time and they should be getting more exposure, but they had their moment. But she was fantastic.
What is it about the saxophone that really speaks to you well? I mean, everybody has their various instrument of choice, cellists, flautists. What is it about the sax for you specifically?
I kind of love the vocal quality of the sax. You can growl, you can, be so smooth, and you can really coax a sound out of it. I like to tell people when they don't know me, and then I meet them at a party, and they go, "What do you do?" And I say, well, I nuance my life force with a high velocity of air through a brass tube.
I thought you were going to say you toot your own horn. Saxophone is so much fun. I do have to say, because I'm an honest man, the saxophone can also be aggressive. So I came to a point, when I got through my throat adventure, and late at night, I look at my buddies like Steve Oliver and Peter White. At the end of the night, they can lean over a guitar by a fire and coax a beautiful sound. Sometimes, Jim, at 10:30 at night, growling and playing Tom Scott or David Sanborn, it's not exactly soothing at 10:30 at night in your own home and the neighbors. Right, exactly. It's
so
not like this. Oh, yeah. Oh, show us that. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
So I fell in love with the flute. And, if you've not interviewed people like Nelson Rangel and those folks, I absolutely love the flute. I like that you can play classical on it, and you can, my friends out here in Palm Springs ask me why I don't golf. I said, I have golf. It's called the flute. There's a million tips on the flute. Hold your arm up, put your left, make an egg shape in your mouth. And that's before you pick up the flute. No,
that's even better.
But the saxophone is like, put it in your mouth and blow, and it's just fine. But the flute, it's such a challenging instrument. And one day, it's almost like trumpet. One day you feel like you got it, the next day. I also like to have a sense of humor about the flute. I was doing a show at a famous club in California called Spaghettini's.
Oh yeah, sure.
And Kenny G's
Mm.
percussionist, Ron Powell, the guy that looks great, muscular, and just a great guy. I was kind of blocking him, but I was playing flute with Terry Woolman.
Oh yeah.
And I was playing it, and again, sense of humor. I went up to Ron Powell. You know, he's buff and he's hitting the percussion. I leaned into Ron's ear. I said, "Does this flute make me look too masculine? You'll let me know, right?" But he's like, "Oh, Will, get out of here." But you know what? There's something about, you know, like you talk about levity. There's something about the flute. It's one of the few instruments that really lives and dies by the connection with your breath. And I've had times where I literally play for 20 minutes and it's as good as meditating, just breathing in and breathing out. And I always tell my wife, if they put a flute on the Gunthy Ranker commercials,
oh yes,
and said, "Would you like something that helps your memory, that gives you fitness and breath support?" It's called the flute. It's 3 easy payments, you know, of $29.99. I think people would buy it if it was marketed as a self-help device, because it kind of does that. And
absolutely.
it's
Yeah,
so
the flute and some of the instruments too, when they're together, like you and I talked about. I had an opportunity to interview on PBS Chris Bodie, who
oh
is
yes,
fantastic and a wonderful trumpet player and a wonderful guy and
great
just a
guy.
regular guy. Sometimes when some of these instruments are playing together, like when you get, you know, a flute and a cello,
Yeah,
with a little piano, how deep and rich and
yeah,
warm and almost melancholy that can be. It's incredible, you know, the sounds that are and the emotion that is evoked and emoted from these instruments that we sort of pick up on. I'm sure, you know, for you, like you say, the sax speaks to you because it's a reflection probably of yourself in many ways, wouldn't you say?
yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. You can really convey a lot of emotions with the sax. It has quite a dynamic range. You can growl, you can scream, you can whisper. You know, the flute is challenging where it doesn't have a big dynamic range. So my friends that play the flute and can command, you know, an hour show with a flute and evoke several moods. That's very amazing to me, because the saxophone, you can really create all kinds of moods. You can cross genres. You can rock out. You can play classical. You can really take that instrument in a lot of different scenarios. You know, I wanted to make sure that I thanked a friend of mine, Jim. My friend Chuck Dennis has a concert that I feel lucky to be a part of, and one of your fellow New Yorkers, Tom Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And if your guests have a chance to look it up on maybe my Facebook page, we've got a 6 camera shoot that's rare to do on these, you know, concerts. But
It
I'm playing
is.
I'm playing with Tom Brown on February 20th, and it's Tom Brown was one of those guys in the 80s that came out of nowhere, kind of like a Chris Bodie. And then he kind of went away for a minute, and I found out that he went and became a pilot.
Did he really?
Yeah, and had a
Wow.
fulfilling career. But I remember seeing him in the 80s just being larger than life as an instrumentalist, you know, even before Kenny G, and tearing up the R&B charts. He had that song "Funkin' for Jamaica," and
Mm-hmm.
now he's on the same label I'm on, and we are really good friends. He's a really great, fully formed artist with a point of view. I love being around him, and to do a show with him, with Chuck Dennis, is just such a treat.
Mm.
And
Do you
yeah,
like doing that, collaborating and playing off others, and you're just, you know, jamming and having a really good time? That must be incredible for you.
you know, I really do. I'm doing a couple projects right now. I just finished a CD, and I had a chance to make 5 of the songs, something that I just wanted to have as a collection, with some friends. I went out of my way. I think I had like 22 people on my last record. And, you know, it's funny, during the pandemic, Jim, it wasn't just about me, of course. It was such a treat to be able to hire musicians during the pandemic. You know, that's like a part you don't
Yeah.
hear about in the business. You know, to be able to make a phone call and actually be able to offer work, even if it's just a couple sessions,
Mm-hmm.
that felt really good. I thought, wow, I can hire some folks, even, maybe it didn't add up to much as far as, the monthly nut, so to speak, but to be able to hire folks felt great. And, and then of course you complete the project, but
Which is really, I mean, how have you been? I've been asking some of the guests this, how they've been sort of staying creative and connected and sort of sane during everything we've been experiencing the last many months. Some of the things you've been doing.
well, I think a lot of players from banner headliners to just regional great workaday artists, we probably all have the same story. About March 5th through March 10th last year, all of our phones kept ringing and saying, no shows, no shows, no shows, no cruises. And it almost, I had to laugh by the second day. Your phone just keeps blinking. I have to say, folks were really loving and polite and saying, better days will come. Right now, they called it postpone. But immediately, just to keep things feeling the same, I went and finished an entire record my record is called Elevate. The new single that's coming out is the title cut on March 1st. But, I decided I'm going to finish some work products so I can be proud during this period that I had something to come out of this period with. And I finished 2 radio singles, 2 albums. I'm working on a collection with Steve Oliver of lullabies, and it was for my grandson.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
I thought, well, if you're a musical grandpa, you gotta. So I wrote an original song called "Sweet Slumber," with sweet SUITE, Sweet Slumber.
Oh, I
And then
like that.
I thought, well, I might as well package up a whole CD, and I'm probably going to be finished next week. And my friend Steve Oliver and I are getting together Thursday to finish up some songs. But I was really startled, Jim, when I went on YouTube to see what the market was for lullabies. I was shocked that it was basically a lot of theater people
Mm-hmm.
singing good-hearted but campy versions of Old MacDonald with funny noisemakers. And I thought, where's the real lullabies? Doesn't anyone want a lull? Everything was,
Right, all these
knick-knack,
kind
paddywhack.
of like
Yeah,
vaudeville or something. Yeah.
yes, yeah, like vaudeville. So I thought we're going to bring back the lull and lullaby. So
Exactly right.
and
The depth of it. Yeah.
I'm always shocked when you, like yourself, you sort of do a little bit of friendly market research. Like yourself, there's very few shows like yours that really truly engage with people and have a conversation, an accessible one, and where we don't have to be on our usual,
Yeah.
we can just kind of let our hair down.
Just
But
be you and share and emote and right. Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
You mentioned Elevate. Tell us about that. I mean, congratulations. That is really cool shot too. I love the cover.
Oh, you know what? I feel very lucky. I'm surrounded by some really, I call them Imagineers, and I call them meta humans too. There's
Yeah.
a gentleman, Robert McLean. He's a millennial, and every day I'm just mystified by his brilliance. Even when we don't interact, I don't think he knows the secret that I'm watching him on other platforms with other artists just illuminate their journeys. He did that cover too, that Robert. And then I have a friend, Jack Cohen, who is like the ultimate curator. Oh, thank you. You did your homework. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Being an entertainer yourself, it's so hard to find compelling photos that tell a story,
Mm-hmm.
and but
Yeah.
I love the team that I have around me. They're friends first, and we have a lot of laughs. And
The relationship with the saxophone is really something that's an instrument to a musician, a book that an author has written. um, they're like your babies. They're like a child, right? You
they really are.
nurture it and take care of it and watch over it and really have a relationship with the instrument and it with you, right? There's this mutual respect.
Well, it's funny you say that, because that picture right there, for instance, that horn started with me in 1985 when I really started realizing something was going to happen. This year, I finally told my wife, I said, this horn needs a total overhaul. It's poor little thing. I mean, that's rare to carry an instrument around for 25 years plus. She said, why don't you go get a new version of this one, which it's a kind of a vintage one that I like.
Yeah.
It's an early Yamaha. But, I realized through 8,000 repairmen, 4,000 like tour mishaps, some really fun dents that I got in Rehoboth Beach. I thought, you know what, this little baby needs to have a spa treatment.
So you said it's in the Horn Hospital, right?
She
the Horn Hospital.
And I literally said, because a little dirty little secret, most musicians sort of hover over their techs and they go, in the old days before COVID, I need it in 3 days. I'm playing locally or I'm going on the road. I said, take your time, do whatever you need to do.
Yes.
Upgrade. And it felt so good, Jim, to finally let the horn go and have a spa week. Absolutely.
Juanita says, would love to hear the lullabies. You're spot on about the ones that are currently available being sort of more billion-like.
Vaudeville. They're vaudeville-like.
Yeah. Linda says, is the saxophone and flute, are those the two that you play instrument-wise? Do you play other instruments as well? Have you dabbled in others?
I play enough piano to write, and I could probably play enough guitar at a campfire. The fire has to be going, though, to create distraction.
Doo-dah, doo-dah,
yeah, exactly.
da-na-na-na-na-na. Oh, the doo-dah. But, as long as they're making s'mores, you're good, right?
Exactly. But what's funny is, as music advances, sometimes I go back and I listen to that stuff from James Taylor and Croce. Stuff is very beautiful. It really tugs the heart, that simple.
And Harry Chapin and some of the,
those storyteller guys.
The early material.
Beautiful,
Right. Exactly. I want to go back a little bit too. We have some other cool albums too that you've been a part of. Here's one here. Tell us about this one.
The reason why I love your term levity, this song was called Groovevolution.
Yes.
And, you try to find evolution and groove and you put them together. And this is actually a radio single cover. And that was one of my early ones. And that was a great song. I've always been very lucky to work with good producers. And
yes, that's key, right?
I love them. And
that is key.
I've had some great producers and I feel really lucky. That was fun. Can I tell you the story of this cover?
Yeah.
So, Palm Springs in the summer is 117.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to get a shot in July because my album was coming out. And so a real talented young saxophone player out here who's kind of a whiz kid named Chase Huna, his younger brother is a real good photographer. So I knew we had an air museum in Palm Springs. So I literally wanted this jacket with the leather jacket and the pants. So I literally would jump up on the wings, put the jacket on and peel it off. It was so hot, Jim. It was incredibly hot. And I mean, literally put the jacket on, take the shot, take it off.
The things you do for your fans.
Yeah. There's a couple of shots where I'm laying on the wings too. But, I just thought only when you got to meet a deadline,
you got to do what you got to do. Maybe you should have named that one What It Takes.
I know.
Tell us about this one.
Well, this one's very
cool
special.
Cover too.
This one's really special to me. In 2010, I had throat cancer.
Yes.
And April 16th, I went in for surgery. 3 days later, I was in recovery. The doctor said, you can't play your horn for 3 months. So that album right there, I'm not kidding you. I had a laptop in the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix. I started writing that CD without a piano around me. And I wrote all the CD basically in a recovery the next 2 weeks when I was in, we went to one of those extended stay. They needed me to be in the area in Phoenix. So I had my wife and two doggies and a laptop, and I literally wrote that most of this album without a piano, and then the rest of the songs, when I finally could function decently enough, I finished this at my friend Steve Oliver's studio. But that album will always remind me. It's a cancer survivor album, what it takes to get through. And if you look at the titles closely, they kind of define the journey without being heavy-handed. But this, I'll always pause when I see that album. There's a song on there called Miracle Man, which was written for my doctor, who was a laser whiz guy, and he did the laser protocols on me. I kind of like step back when I see that CD. It reminds me of the journey in a good way.
Well, what I see right there too in the cover and looking at it is just how the saxophone relies on you to be able to give it the air that it needs to create the luscious sound that it creates. And now you had to rely on the comfort and relationship of you and the saxophone. And that's really expressed in that photo. With the saxophone, ordinarily when you're performing, is dependent on you in order to make things happen. But you're sort of dependent on it here to bring you that joy and that solace and that balance, and to bring things back for you. Like the saxophone was sitting there saying, while you were going through all that, hey, I'm here. I'm waiting for you. When you're ready, let's do it. And you just can see in that photo that love between you and the saxophone and how you're leaning on it to provide comfort during a interesting time in your life with the throat cancer, huh?
I'll tell you something, Jim. I've been doing this a long time. I've never had anybody put it like that. That is really incredible and poetic of you. I see why you have fans daily and can command an audience. I'm really blown away by the way you phrase that. I got goosebumps. It's really, because it's sometimes I don't look at playing the horn like mechanical. It's kind of it's a wind spiritual thing, but the way you related that was just really, it was really amazing. I'll remember that.
That's what I get from it. It's like, it depends on you. It looks beautiful, but if you don't pick it up and do your thing with it and give it its air, you're like its air beneath its wings.
Yeah.
And now you had it where you were the purveyor of that for that saxophone, for the life of that saxophone. And you were down for the count for a bit. And the saxophone is sort of saying, look, I'm here. When you're ready, I'll always be here. And you're sort of leaning on it and depending on it for that source of comfort and stability at a time when the world probably felt like it was swirling around when you hear the word cancer, right?
Oh, yeah. You know what? It's funny because I had a risk of not being able to play after my surgery. There were two different protocols. There was laser. We didn't know about that initially. And the first protocol was like the Roger Ebert thing where they just start cutting and hacking and grafting. And somebody in the process said, this gentleman plays saxophone. He might need most of his tongue to play. And, by good fortune, we found a surgeon in Phoenix that could do what we needed to do to get through the process. And I loved having gone through the journey because at shows, if somebody comes up to me, if they know that I went through this, I'm truly engaged with them after the show. And I really listen and I ask questions, and it brings me close to people. You're not autopilot listening. I'm really listening, and it touches me to hear the stories. And I'm grateful that I went through that. It gives you that connection. And before I had cancer, that when the City of Hope commercial came on, that was my cue to make a sandwich.
Exactly. How has it changed your music? How has it changed your perspective and your approach to the work itself, having gone through that?
I have a couple of buddies that kind of watch me closely out of the corner of their eye, and in a field of music where there's a lot of, like you mentioned, Kaz and Bodhi, there's already uber talented people that are prolific. And I do a lot of corporate work with a group in the area called Art of Sax. So I have 200 shows a year before I even get to the national stages,
Wow.
And and it's joyful. But a lot of my friends out of the corner of my eye realize I don't really stop doing projects. My friend Jack Cohen just told me yesterday, just because I did about 2 albums during the pandemic, he said, "Are you on your 20th album?"
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, my wife knows if I don't have a project, I get a little cranky sometimes. She'll say, "Don't you need a project right now?" Okay, I'll do nursery rhymes. I'll do lullabies. But like yourself,
while painting the vaulted ceiling.
Yeah. Okay. But it's funny because I call it good problems to have. Go in my studio and make music. Gee, that's really tough.
And I know it means a lot to you when you hear from the fans and people tell you that the music you make really touches their heart and their soul, and they can't wait for more, and they love it, and they play it over and over. And, because you go in for the love of making the music. It's something, that comes naturally to you. It's a reflection of who you are as a person. But then when you have the icing on the cake or the gravy of the public at large, the consumers of the product saying, this isn't just sound coming out of a speaker. This is really going in to my ears and it's staying in here. And I love this stuff. What is it like when you hear that from people? It must really, as an artist, as you are, just give you that juice to keep going and doing it, right?
Well, it's funny, as I love, sometimes in the old days when you were a jazz musician, it was a little bit of a jazz police issue if you like to entertain. And then as music kind of evolves into the format that we have now, if you entertain, it's not just something that you're kind of chided for. I love people. So I try to bring the craft and all the painstaking background and the chops and the preparation. I love interacting with people, and I like comedy, and I like to make people laugh. So, my booking agent that I am associated with, he calls it the 50-50. He has some musicians that they've got the 50% talent, but they put their heads down.
Yeah.
So they get a 20 on the entertainment side. And then there's a great guy that I love, Nick Coleone. They're like 50-50s. Dave Koz, 50-50. Brick Bright. And, I like to see myself not being embarrassed by entertaining. Sometimes, you're perceived as just a pleasant person, that things are not hard. And sometimes, but my friends that know me know I've got drawers full of mouthpieces right now on my desk and reeds and, flutes. You work hard behind the scenes to make things look easy,
Exactly.
And
well, I want to show, we have a little clip here that I want to show. It's and you doing your thing, a little action here, and then we'll come back. And we also have the Elevate video that we're going to show as well, because I want them to really hear some of the music. Here's a little of Will doing his thing, and then we'll be back in just a second. Hope you enjoy, everybody. Share that levity.
Give it up for Chase Huna, you guys. also did.
Oh, Jim,
Wow.
that was a treat. That was
That's
a
like,
treat.
oh my God, that was amazing. Tell us about the scene and what that was about. And that was really cool, man. God,
Well,
just,
since
just a
you
little
are,
sample of your extraordinary work.
oh, thank you. You know, since you're knowledgeable about music, a lot of people know that song Europa from Gato Barbieri. It's amazing. And I thought I play alto sax, so I wanted to write my Europa. And please let your guests know, because they're good to you, Jim, that if they email me, I will send them the studio version of that song if they like. Whatever.
Oh,
That's
that's
Italia,
wonderful.
it's called.
So
But that
email and mention the Jim
Jim
Masters
Masters,
show.
and
And
I'll send them a download. And
wow.
you know what? And men are also eligible.
Yeah. Some people write my Sharona, you write my Europa. I just want to show you some of the lovity coming here too. Kathy Short in Cleveland says, love it. Linda Odell in Florida says, I could listen to your music all night, Will.
Hi, Linda.
Maureen says, that was magnificent, and says, awesome. Mary Bishop in Florida says, wonderful. Linda Odell says, I could lose myself in your music, Will. Juanita, who's watching late into the hour in South Africa, says,
hi, Juanita.
awesome. And Linda also says, so glad to hear that you're cancer survivor as well, which is, I think, fantastic. Really, really nice. And Mona in Louisiana says, you make this saxophone easy to play and beautiful. Really nice comments, huh?
There's a lot of love in the Jim Masters show.
There really, really is. I've got another clip now. Tell us about the origin. We've got the clip of Elevate. Tell us about the origin of Elevate and the inspiration for it. Well, it's really fantastic.
You know, on March 1st, I have a radio single coming out. It's called a radio edit. So it's basically this song with a couple more layers. And it was produced by a fantastic guitarist in California, Blake Aaron. I think you might know him, Jim. In fact, that would be another great guest. You know,
you've got a list of great people for me.
He's so great. He's got like multiple number ones on Billboard.
Yes, yeah.
And he takes the time to produce his friends. And so March 1st, that radio edit of the song you're going to play comes out. But, this song, I just, again, I wanted something that inspired. I don't like heavy-handed titles, and I don't want to be preachy. I just thought, Elevate, it doesn't really say pick up your game. It just inspires. Everybody can relate to that word. And I just wanted to put some music to it. This video was shot in the world famous kind of that area called Joshua Tree in California. And those Joshua trees are so amazing.
Yeah.
It almost seems like it almost seems like an alien world with these Joshua trees. And
right.
We had so much fun shooting that video. I swear to God, it was a national park. On the way out, I bought a season pass, so I could come all the time.
They got you.
And you know what? It's funny.
It's incredible.
With all the Las Vegas and high tech, and there's something about the low tech beauty of just being there, Jim.
Of nature and
it's so,
absolutely.
And I'm a city slicker, so for me to go, there's something to this nature thing. So it was awesome, though. It was really fun. That video shoot was great.
So that was the setting for this then, huh?
Yeah, and my wife Diana was the cinematographer, and my friend Jack Cohen edited it, and another buddy, Robert McLean, has platformed it and profiled it, and
wow.
Yeah, I had a blast doing that shoot. It was really fun.
Let's take a look at that right now. It's incredible. Enjoy, everybody, and we'll be back with my special guest, renowned smooth jazz saxophonist and composer, sharing his levity on our show tonight on the Jim Masters Show Live. Now you're going to go from levity to being elevated with Elevate. What a combination we've got here. That's it. If they don't get a rise out of this show, I don't know where they'll get it.
Yeah, we're doing the opposite. You got to go opposite. Yeah, I learned that.
Kind of like what he said.
Yeah.
So in this case, this.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good promo shot of us. The pointing. Hey, screenshot.
Home Alone. All right, here we go. Enjoy, everybody, and we'll be back.
That's a catchy little song, isn't
I
it?
was going to say it really, really is. And there's, like you said, there's more layers that are going to be added to that because it sounds awesome the way it is, but I can't wait to hear what those layers are going to
Yeah,
be.
there are breakdowns and some solo sax, kind of like that Italia song. And Blake Aaron produced it. And, you know, I have to give credit to my friend Jack Cohen for just basically telling me this has got to go to radio. And I followed his advice, and the rest is history. We had such a good time. You know, it's so funny when you're in the pandemic to just get together with your friends, like you said, and collaborate and put something out there that's going to create some positivity. It just feels like you're checking off all the boxes of good living.
That's really what it is. I mean, speaking of fantastic, Mary Bishop in Florida saying fantastic. Juanita saying fantastic song. Love the location as well. Linda toe tapping, dancing in my chair, can't sit still, listening to Elevate, beautiful music. Kathleen in New York City, awesome. Maureen saying, what a setting for that video. I love Joshua Tree. Christine Clifton in North Carolina, your music is riveting, sensational. Will. Kathy Short in Cleveland, love it. good instant feedback from people, huh? So that's cool. And it's this is, how long did it take you to actually put that together from, conception to the realization of here it is ready to go for everybody?
You know, I can write music pretty quickly when I buckle down.
Can you? Yeah.
Um, you know, for me, the process is just basically kind of working from a melody, so that when the song was finished, I recorded it for the record on the album Elevate, up there. And my producer and friend, Jack Cohen, said we need to shoot a video. So we basically thought the setting of Joshua Tree up in California would be a great spot. And we lucked out with killer lighting. It just looked, the lighting on the video shoot for Elevate.
Yeah.
And then my friend, he's incredible. He can put together entire music videos in like an evening, and it's just amazing. And I'm blown
Yeah.
away by how quickly he can tell a story with
Just
video
gets
production.
really understands, right, like the location and the vibe and
Yeah,
everything that you're trying to
yeah.
put together, because you can tell a story in visuals in a way that really captures people, right?
Yeah, it's funny too, because one of my signature things I like doing is, we get it. It's like the early Kenny G videos when he's on a boat. You're like, well, where's the microphone? Well, wait a minute, he might fall off. I always like to let the folks know we get it. We're on location, so I always put a studio mic on a mic stand to show that there's some connection, that this was a process.
At this.
So even on the beach, I'll put a microphone down on the beach with the mic, like the condenser mic. It just is my way of saying, I want to contextualize this, put it into context. A guy on the beach with a microphone. So, but we had, it was fun. I like that kind of the shtick of having make sure the mic's there.
Right.
It's like we had another thing I finished up during the pandemic. I did a Renaissance Christmas CD. I thought I needed another holiday album, and Jim, I thought, when you got Slash and the Dixie Chicks doing Frosty the Snowman, we don't need another song with the top 12 songs, same old songs. We can't. We've done it. Winona Judd's got it. I thought, you can't bring anything new to that collection of those 20. So I thought, well, I'm going to do English carols and classic on this guy. And and I did it with I call it, my holiday CD has an Irish accent. It's kind of Celtic. And
I like that.
It came out so good, and there's no cliche songs on there, but it just sounds like, Renaissance period and really beautiful Irish carols. And there's always like one guy in the ensemble that sounds like he's had too much Guinness, but that was part of the charm of the music.
That's part of the.
But it was so fun. I had violinists, and I had
whistles
the whistles and the drum, the bodrum drum, and that kind of stuff. And the CD, I think I have a picture of it in my studio, but it came out so good. And it was one of those things that came out like the Lullaby CD. That's it. Wow, you're on top of it.
I tell you, we're good.
Stained glass. I have a lot of
beautiful.
people, because it's not cliche Christmas songs. A lot of my friends and fans, they play the CD all year because it just sounds meditative.
Yes.
It's flute with echo. Some of my favorite players are on this.
Oh yeah, I listen to Christmas music all year long. I think Christmas music, talk about lullabies. Christmas music are like lullabies that come back every year. This past year, with everything that's gone on, people were really craving the holiday music, and they were playing it early, and nobody was really complaining, and stores rolled things out early, and usually people complain it's too early. But this year, I think people were ready for the holidays and needed that sort of warm, cozy blanket of the holidays and all the, love and family and spirituality and all the things encompassed with it. And the music the songs are like comforting lullabies we've heard all our life since we came to the planet. And here they come back no matter what goes on during the year, here they come again to sort of create comfort. And so, I can listen to Christmas music throughout the year.
Yeah, this CD is really cool because, Yeah, I did. I snuck in some classical too, because some of those melodies are associated with Christmas. I had a couple things. I'm a huge Debussy fan, and I don't want to sound like I'm, urbane or highfalutin, but Debussy's music is like jazz that came out in the 1800s. And I'm also working on a Debussy record on flute, but the Lullaby CD kind of took a precedence because my daughter said, Dad, you need to finish the Lullaby CD before my son turns 18 because he won't be taking naps anymore. So I thought, oh, all right, I get it. Finish the Lullaby CD. I get it.
Are there others in the family that are musically inclined as well? That's sort of following the footsteps?
My family is musical, but not like those stories you hear where they're all like sitting at a jam session together.
It's not like the Osmonds or
Yeah, but
Jackson 5.
my sisters were piano players. My mom was a musical, and but they always encouraged music. That was very important to them to do that. And but my little sister is a professional in the medical industry. But what I love about her is she's still the pianist in her church. And I don't know if they have this in New York, Jim, but in the spring in a lot of the big cities or states like New York and Texas, they have this thing called solo and ensemble contest where all the high school kids have to play a piece for a jury in their high school, and it's a big conferencey kind of thing. And my sister still, as a professional person in the medical field, as a dietitian, will still take I said, well, how many kids do you have in Texas, which is one of those big cities, are doing solo and ensemble? And she says, oh, she's so nonchalant and so smart. I have 50. I'm thinking, 50? I don't know if I know 50 songs.
50 like it's nothing, right?
Yeah, and it's all, like if you and I were back in high school, you bring in your trumpet and you got to learn the fanfare, and I bring in my clarinet and I'm playing. So she accompanies those little guys in those competitions, and she does like 50 of them. And I said, you're still doing that? She goes, oh, yeah, I love it. And I'm like, oh, my God, you're something else. And, I remember doing those as a kid. It was such a process. You get your little sheet music out, and you kind of nervously play your song for a jury. And there's a lady over there, I call it just typing away,
Exactly, right.
But my sister, she's such a cool girl. In Texas, I had one of those flashy
Where they're freezing right now. The weather in Texas they said it's colder in Houston than Anchorage, Alaska right now. Could you imagine?
My dad lives in Austin, and and I called him yesterday, and he said it's snowing. And I thought it was those things where we're not like you guys. If it sticks just a little bit for 30 minutes, we act like
it's becoming the end of the earth, right?
Yeah.
Like when it rains in California, it's like eyewitness news, helicopters everywhere, and
close-ups of gutters,
right?
Yeah,
Drainage ditches.
Yeah, exactly. But my dad said, no, it's not the sticking thing, Will. We can't get out of our little house. And
no, and they're not really. I didn't realize, I forgot about it, but they were saying on the news last night that those houses are not really built for that kind of weather, that kind of cold, the amount of ice, the amount of snow, they've had a lot of like multi-vehicle accidents, all kinds of things. It's thrown them for the whole middle of the country right now is in like the Arctic Circle. It's warmer on the East Coast and in Alaska than it is in the middle of the country right now.
Yeah, I just,
God bless the Canadians.
I know. My buddy,
they laugh at us when it's like 10 degrees here, like we're having emergency alerts. They're like, 10? Are you talking about below zero or above? We're like, no, it's above. Oh, that's nothing. That's a heat wave.
Yeah, it's like Jim Gaffigan says. At 10 degrees, it doesn't really matter if it's Celsius or Fahrenheit.
Once it's 10, it's 10.
Doesn't matter. Yeah,
it's 10.
Yeah, my buddy lives up in Winnipeg, and my standard joke. It's not pretty, but I always say he's in Winnipeg and it's -3 today, and I go, well, Wally, I'm changing into my winter tank top here in Palm Springs with the thicker straps. And
that is funny. We have another clip here, actually. This is kind of cool. And this is, it looks like a clip from 2013. You're at like a jazz fest. And jamming here. I just want to show this to show a little more of this is on your website as well, a little more of you in action doing your thing and playing off other people as beautifully as you do, which I think is really so cool. Enjoy this, folks, and we'll talk about it in just a minute with our great guest and our gracious guest, Will Donato, live from Palm Springs.
Glenn Fisher, you guys, how about that groove? Give us some love. That is one funky groove. On the guitar, you guys, the amazing Patrick Yandale. We call him PY. Oh, San Diego, thank you guys. This is what we call a musical Porsche right here. Thank you guys. So this is going to be my new radio single. It's called Jaywalkin'. And it'll hopefully be dropping in about 2 weeks. And I'm actually shooting a video right now. I'm going to have a American flagpole, a very exotic woman, and this is my CPA. All right, we'll work on that. You guys give it up for these beautiful dancers here.
That was cool.
I saw some. I did some big people stuff in that video.
You just stay right there, folks. I will come to you.
Yeah, exactly.
That was cool. Everybody was loving that. The comments, and even one of the comments said, and maybe this will happen, it should be the background music for the local forecast on the Weather Channel.
It's funny. In the beginning of the video, sometimes when I turn around, most of the time when musicians do that, they're saying something like, bring it down, bring it up. I'm actually playing and I go, you are one bad mother farmer to the drummer. I'm actually just like turning around and going, because I'm very relaxed on stage.
I know.
Normally when people turn around, as you know, as a theater guy, you're like, turn it down, it's too loud. I'm actually stopping in the middle of my grand performance and telling him, have I ever told you how good you are?
That is funny.
And then after I do that, I'll come back and I go, did I just tell you how good you are? And so
yeah,
I didn't want you to. It looked like I was probably saying bring it down, but I'm actually going, you're very good. I don't think I haven't noticed.
Oh no, absolutely, no, absolutely. And we actually have the team graciously graced us with some more great music. There's no video here; it's just actual audio, but it's Infinite Soul. Tell us about this one. Yeah,
that is my Billboard #1.
Congratulations, my friend. Congratulations.
2019, and this was produced by a name that you probably know, Greg Manning. He's just wonderful. He's a hit producer. And Alex Allen, bass from Stevie Wonder's band, and Eric Valentine. You've seen him with Rick Braun and Peter White. He's got the dreadlocks sometimes. He plays blindfolded sometimes.
Hey, look who's watching. Terry Woolman.
Terry.
Hey, Jim and Will, great to see you both together. Absolutely, Terry. And thanks for recommending Will, fan of Will's anyway, but to have him come on. And Terry was another gracious, fantastic, talented guest as well on the show. And we had a lot of fun with Terry as well. And he said, hey, I've got another buddy, Will. And I'm like, Will. And yeah, so it was fantastic.
Terry's, when I had to guest host on someone's radio show once, and I'm no Jim Masters, so I had to, I'm easy going on stage and I'm not afraid to host at all. But, the thing that you guys do, I had to literally watch how to rein yourself in, ask a question, don't do shtick, and really, Terry was my model on how to interview a musical guest and elevate the conversation and just, don't insert yourself. And, you are a master at that. And Terry is so good at that. And if I hadn't seen Terry, I might've done that thing. Well, that reminds me of something I did once,
Right.
And he really asks, like he does his homework. But Terry was my model on how to go on the show and at
Right.
least try to
I feel comfortable,
feel
and
comfortable.
you don't have to overdo and oversell, right? You
Yeah,
don't have to, right?
yeah,
Exactly.
and if I hadn't seen Terry, because I even watched people like Jimmy Kimmel, and I watched
Sure, yeah,
Jimmy Fallon, but they're trying to be extra funny only, and Terry would really, if someone's talking about like a poignant musical story, you got to listen and just dig in. And
that's right.
I really owe the arc of what I do to Terry on the early things on the radio that I've been doing. And
He
yeah,
provided us some solace, comfort, and guidance, which is perfect. When you have somebody in your life that does that,
yeah.
it's, hold on to them. It's a really beautiful, beautiful thing. So good to see Terry here, and a couple more comments, and we'll shoot that audio there. Wonderful from Kathy Short in Cleveland. So cool from Linda. The video that we just watched, Kathleen Walker in New York City. What great music. Christine Clifton said, if you weren't moving before, you are now.
Oh,
Absolutely. Juanita in South Africa saying, love it. Very groovy. Linda in Florida. So groovy. Love it. Austin Field. This song should be used for local forecast on the Weather Channel. Great song.
no, that's actually a compliment, because a lot of us musicians,
They've used their material as background on, I've heard it on the Weather Channel. They even had a CD once where you could, I think I have them, with, some of the jazz artists doing music for the Weather Channel when they go to the forecast. It's kind of cool.
When I first got onto radio a long time ago, I was eating at a Panera in California with my wife, and I love to listen, and I'm good at recognizing people, and I'm having my artisan sandwich. and I said to my wife, God, that sounds like me. That guy has the same style as me. She goes, you dummy, that's you. So, I was at Panera, and she goes, it's just, I thought, well, that guy has, how everyone sounds like Sanborn or Trying To, or Tom Scott or Richard Elliott. And I'm sitting there eating my sandwich, go, oh, that gentleman's got a lovely tone. And it sounds kind of,
it's you.
And then my wife goes, you tell me that's you. I go, oh, you're right, that is.
Because that was a really good artisan sandwich, and you were focused on the sandwich.
It's so funny when it happens. You hear a little enough of it, go, what? I think I do that lick.
Right, exactly, which is really, really cool. And when that happens, you're kind of like, it's when you walk into a store, or you walk in somewhere and you hear your own stuff, or you see yourself on TV, or whatever it is, it can sort of take you back a little bit. I've had that happen with some of my television work or radio work, or somewhere where it's on, and I'm so engrossed in the thing that we have to do, and they're like, over there, you're on. It's cool.
Yeah,
So
I get more excited hearing my buddies, because like you mentioned, in our conversations, from the Jay Rose to the Terry Wilmus and Steve Oliver, it's so funny. I can go to a certain lifestyle kind of a venue, like a Westin or a nice hotel, and I'll just be sitting there having a coffee, and I'll go, Jay Rowe, Steve Cole, Richard Elliott, Jeff Kashua.
Yeah.
And then, like, these are buddies that you love.
And
Steve Oliver, they're your friends. And it's just like, and you've been with them, you've been on a cruise with them, or you've been on a show, and Nelson Rangel, and it's like, that's my family,
Right,
it really,
exactly.
it's a nice thing. Yeah.
And all are in the smooth jazz community, very funny, warm, engaging, very good with their fans. I've been, around many of them through my work on public television as well, but where they're doing meets and greets and different things. I remember with Chris Bodie, which was, I couldn't believe it. We were I was emceeing, I interviewed him on public television, and then I was tasked with being the MC and welcoming him on stage at, I believe it was the Bushnell, beautiful place in Hartford, Connecticut. At the end, he had this meet and greet for all of the viewers that had supported the special. The last people to leave the building was me, one of the other folks from that particular station, the janitor, And Chris
Oh,
wanted to shake every hand, sign every CD, take every photo, and we just couldn't believe it. And it's something about the community, I think, that just you really enjoy what you do. You really enjoy, and I think the music and the sound, the smoothness of the music, it just brings all of that in. It's not music that's meant to get you ticked off and aggravated and end up in an argument or standing on a corner with a poster or something. It's meant to really make you feel good and sort of
yeah,
take you away from the chaos and fret of life, right?
it is. And it's funny because you and I probably love the same kind of arena or stadium music. You will never get to necessarily shake Bruce Springsteen's hand. Not that he doesn't put himself in that spot, but a Katy Perry concert, she's only going to be that big on stage to everybody. But in this format, they're up there. Chris Bodie looks like $1,000, in a Tom Ford suit, and after the show, he'll be right at the CD table, and you can say, "Chris, that was great." Well, there's not a lot of formats you can do that. Not and even superstar country, you can't do that now, and
No,
rock and pop and
no,
R&B. But
there's
our
no
format,
access. Yeah.
yeah, and I again, I'm built for that. I like that. I always say it's a meet and greet afterwards, and I always say, "Don't threaten me with a good time."
Because I'll be there.
I like it.
And the
When I first,
cruises and all, yeah.
yeah,
Smooth jazz
cruises are,
cruises and
yeah, I like the cruises too. Um, it's funny on the cruises sometimes because you don't want your fans necessarily to see you with Opie and your bedhead per se. So sometimes I figured out how when I had bedhead or wasn't quite ready for public consumption. I knew what hall to walk up, go straight up there, get a Guy Fieri burger, grab it, and come right back, and then beautify and go out. And I'd be
and
silly.
say hi, and then they
Yeah,
think you woke up, you went to bed that way and woke up that way.
yeah. But it's funny because sometimes, I really just love people, but sometimes you wake up and you want that pizza, and you're on a cruise, and people are so nice, and I can't resist just hanging out. But
Right,
like I gotta
exactly.
get a pizza, so I knew exactly
Mm,
what aisle to go down,
mhm,
go straight up a stairwell, get a
mm.
pizza, and but
The banana coladas on those cruise
yeah.
ships are mighty fine too. They're pretty good.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a sociable format though, and
really
and
is.
like you said, I like that word. It's a fan centric format,
Yeah,
and
very much. Lots of levity, exactly, on in that atmosphere, and it lends itself beautifully to the genre of music.
it does.
It's funny, you'll laugh because I'm a big instrumental music lover. We have a climate controlled storage unit that we pay monthly for that has, and I've mentioned this on the show multiple times. It has thousands of CDs. It has sealed records, probably a couple hundred seal records, reel to reel tapes,
Wow.
cassettes, 1 inch tape. I mean, of all kinds of different music, including the orchestras too. I mean, everything from the Henry Mancini all the way
Wow.
up, just a lot of it. And there's just something that I love about instrumental, listening to the instruments, because sometimes, the instruments, um, they sweep you away. You know what I mean? And I love when music is enveloping, when music is coming around me. I don't. I love it when sometimes music is coming from behind me, like
Yeah.
when I'm standing here, but the speakers are back there and it's sort of flowing over, as opposed to sometimes just coming at me. I
Yeah.
like when it sort of fills the house, fills the room.
I know what you're saying. I
It's
like that.
it's a cool feeling and effect, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. You're talking about instrumental. I do play instrumental music, and I've been in great bands with vocals. I do have to say, because vocals tend to get popularized, like the Katy Perrys and the Bruno
Oh
Mars,
yeah,
which we all do love. But the thing about instrumentals I like, you're free in your car to have your own visualization.
right.
You might hear Peter White and think, I gotta go to Hawaii again, or
Yeah,
I gotta go down to Cabo San Lucas. But if someone's telling you, I had a fight with my girlfriend,
you're gonna think of that person, and
or
they try to.
you gotta, they're pulling you, and not that it's not beautiful. I mean, and some words luckily resonate with us. Maybe a touching song, but instrumental, you're free to kind of go where you want. It's yours to take for a ride.
Exactly. And I also think you could also play it over and over more often
Yes.
than you can sometimes with a vocal, depending, what it is. But it's all a matter of taste and everything. But still, I find I do that. I can
rewind. I can rewind on an hour trip. I was listening to, it's a vocal song, but I'm going to kind of shock you with my reference here, but I want to do a remake of that melody from Neil Young, that song Old Man. It's so poignant.
Right.
But make it instrumental, because we get it. It's powerful with the words, but also that when the chorus comes in, take a look at yourself, you're alive.
Yeah.
Make those like horns stack.
Right.
Exactly. I got goosebumps, but I just listened to that song over and over again on a particular drive. And because of the magic of YouTube, you can also get different versions of him doing that song.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also getting a kick out of the time he did it with Jimmy Fallon, when Jimmy did it perfect with the hat down. And it was so respectful because he loves him. But then I saw versions of Neil Young when he was a vibrant, handsome 22-year-old, shy, thinking, God, you have your whole life ahead of you and you're already crushing it.
It's amazing. I know. Absolutely.
But I mean, songs like that, but with instrumentals, like you said, you can just, I got to ask you a question, because I'm so fascinated, because sometimes times kind of move on and there's new flavors of the month. But I'm really fascinated that you love Tom Scott, because I
remember he created a fantastic theme. Now this goes back a little bit.
I'm with you. I know where you're going already.
Well, this one's to the Pat Sajak show.
Oh, wow.
Did you ever hear that thing? It's on YouTube. And Dave Paz was in the band with Tom Scott on Pat Sajak.
And that was a great band too. Oh
yes. The short-lived Pat Sajak show on CBS. So they were trying to do a late night. I think it was way before Letterman. But all of his music is, Peter White, you mentioned too, another. And we just lost, was it about a week ago, Chick Corea.
I know.
Chick Corea. Yeah.
I was just
Chuck Loeb a couple years ago.
Loeb was so brilliant. Yeah, hearkening back to that thing with your beautiful guests and the Lovity Squad. Every day, you never know what's going to happen. Did I just make them a squad? That's awesome.
I was just about to say, right? They call this Lovity Hall. I'm Mr. Lovity.
And you're Lovity Squad.
They are the Lovity Squad. You got that, folks?
I like that.
You're in South Africa, you're part of the squad.
And the Love Squad.
You're our South African contingent.
Well, I went through a period where I had every Tom Scott made. I literally went through the All Music Guide, Jim. And I went, okay, I got Honeysuckle Rose when he was a kid winning like Battle of the Bands at the Hollywood Bowl. And then I ran out of CDs. I swear to God. Then I went into his filmography, and he did Fritz the Cat. He did Neighbors. And I started collecting the movies that he did for the music. I mean, I really went through a phase where I just couldn't get enough. And I'm kind of a collector that has to complete the collection.
Yes, right, exactly.
I'm a completist.
You're a completist, exactly. Is there anybody that you would still love to collaborate with, or that's still with us, and or somebody who isn't with us anymore that you would have loved to, perhaps like the Miles Davises or others?
I've taken liberties even on the climb up of doing that already, so I don't have any regrets. I have to say, my recent collaboration with Terry Woolman on 2 different projects, he played the title cut on my Renaissance Christmas CD, and when I got his parts back, I said, Terry, I wanted session work. I didn't know you were going to put on a master class for studio work. I was like, wow. I got the most amazing part. I kind of joked to him. I said, I was just expecting studio work. I didn't know you were putting on a master class. I didn't get the syllabus. And it was stunning. And the title cut's called Renaissance Christmas. It's really amazing. And then we did a ballad that I kind of retrofitted, one of my favorite David Sanborn songs from his first album. And it was called Beyond Forever. So You know, it's a phrase I never heard put together, but our love is beyond forever.
It's beyond forever.
And
Tell us.
Terry played on that. And again, Terry hit it out of two baseball parks. It was really amazing. So
He
that's,
said, much respect to you both. Thanks, Terry. We
uh,
appreciate that. Juanita is saying in South Africa, LOL, always wanted to be part of the squad. Now she's part of the squad. You're
Juanita.
branded a Lovity now, Will. So you're in the Jim Masters fold here of Lovity. And Amy's right. Amy's a beautiful poet. Music soothes the soul.
Does Amy have a website, or does she have something we can find more about
I think she's building it. We actually did a celebration of poetry a week ago.
I love poetry.
I read some of. We had a poet on, Debbie Tosin Kilday, and then Amy sent me in some of hers, and I shared it on that episode. It was really cool. You can see that on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, that episode. But she says Will's energy is infectious, which is really nice.
I like that.
And Linda says she would love to hear you and Kenny G play together.
I'm a Kenny G fan. You know what? I used to see him when I was a kid, when he was Kenny Gorlick,
right?
Playing with Lorber, and I thought, but I saw him at a club, Jim, when I was kind of a jazz musician, you know, like playing right on the mic and just making sure I played all the standards correctly. And I saw him at this club by myself because no one wanted to go at the time. Everyone was either like, you know, rock or pop. And I went to see him, and he had the big hair and a white denim suit on. He was sitting in ladies' laps, and I thought, "What's going on here? What is this?"
Songbird was on the radio. Yeah,
I never saw entertainment like that in the jazz field. I thought, "What is happening? Where's the mic stand and the music?" You know, and I was like, I was blown away. I just loved it.
We'll go back to the Infinite Soul in just a second, but here's a little tidbit. You mentioned Richard Marx, of course, and having had an opportunity to play with him. Do you know about his dad?
Yes, I do.
Legendary trumpet player and jingle writer and musician, Dick Marks in Chicago. Yeah. There's a theme, well, a lot of different themes, but one particular one that he wrote, and I think he penned this, he composed and arranged this theme music back in the 70s. And believe it or not, ever since, elements of it, and this is her speaking with my television guy hat on, because I love production music too and all kinds of music. He wrote a theme that elements of are still used today in what is now 2021. Could you imagine that? And it's a news theme. And as soon as I give you the notes, you're going to like, oh my God, no matter what city I go on, I hear this theme. And it's Channel 2 News.
Everybody uses that. Wow, that's his motif.
He designed that for WBBM Channel 2 in Chicago. CBS, the network brass, loved it so much, they then brought it to New York, Philadelphia, KCBS in LA when it was KNXT, and all their CBS-owned stations, and they had versions of that. And they still use elements of that today, and that's Richard's dad, Dick Marks. And there's actually words to that theme.
Oh, wow.
And initially, when it was written for Channel 2 in Chicago, that part where it goes is I love Chicago, Chicago I love. That's what the real meaning of that background music is for the newscasts that you've heard those many years since. Can you imagine that? Writing a theme that's still
amazing. It's a really amazing that you know, I like that kind of like music bed or music library. The stuff is really there's a couple friends of mine that's what their focus is.
Yes. And I've always loved promotional image campaigns, promotional music. So like Frank Gehry and some of these other big production and promotion houses that used to create all the production music, news themes, and image branding for radio stations, jingle singers, television, the Baylor brothers, the Ron Hicklin singers, all these people that were brought in to be the background and end up being the background singers for Ray Conniff, for the Partridge Family's background singers, sing the theme to Love American Style, radio station jingles. It's just, you don't hear much of that anymore. Jingles have sort of faded. But there's, some of that production music is really cool stuff. It's
It
like,
really is.
you can get hooked on it.
It's funny when you go to those websites and you look at the guys that do that really well. It's almost like a menu. Mystery,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Clown.
Right.
It's so funny because they really nail the flavors, and they have to. It's like a menu of flavors, and
Exactly.
it's 20, 48 hours.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. But I love to write. I probably could enjoy that. The only problem is I like entertaining, and I like the people part of it.
You like being the performer, right? Exactly.
And I just enjoy interacting. And
Yes, very important.
that type of music is very. It's
You don't know who they are that are doing it, right?
And I just enjoy interacting, having fun with folks.
Have you done any session work? Have you been brought in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
That's
fact,
a whole.
I'm doing a session tonight and tomorrow for a guitarist in the smooth jazz format. I just did something for JJ Sansaverino. I'm always getting sessions. I like that. And you mentioned Tom Scott. A lot of times, even in my music, if you listen to my music, it always has the Tom Scott horns. I call it like the Steely Dan horn.
Yeah.
He only uses tenor saxophones.
Right.
You hear it in Rod Stewart, and you'll hear it in Steely Dan, in Tom Scott's music. He only uses tenor sax, is saxed a certain way. And I have studied that. I owned all those records, and I still put that. All my music never has brass. It has that Tom Scott stack. And I thought, just to try to differentiate your product a little bit in a field of talented musicians, I'll have my little hook that you can hear.
Yeah.
And mine has a lot of flute in it too.
Which is nice.
Work it in there.
A really nice sound.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about Infinite Soul. You were starting to tell us a little bit about the background. Then we'll play it for everybody.
Well, I think it's a funny story because the song was going to radio January 1st in 2020, I think it was. It was December 14th, and I had a couple sessions already done. Maybe it was earlier then, I'm sorry, because our record label has a really good crew that makes sure things are done on time and to Spotify.
Right.
It was probably November. I'm sorry. But I do remember it was close to the deadline. And in those days before COVID, you had holiday parties, you had tour dates.
Yeah.
I probably just did Jay's Smooth Jazz for Scholars.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I had a radio date. And sometimes, those things on your calendar that look like far away, like, oh, yeah, I've got Will on February 16th. Oh, my God, it's today. All of a sudden, I realized, like mid-November, late November, oh, shoot, I got a radio single that needs to go to our promotion and marketing folk. And I had a trip planned to my father in Texas, which is a joyful thing. So normally, before I used a certain producer, I would just sort of have like the Jim Masters sing something. The guys, I'd have all the players and I'd go somewhere and have it mixed. I didn't have time to do it piecemeal. So I thought, well, if I use a producer, he kind of does the Motown thing where they get the players together and then you just do your thing when he's done. And you trust him to do his thing. So I engaged a talented guy, Greg Manning, to do that for me. I felt like a general contractor, Jim, to remodel their house. I can't do any of this, sir. You're my general contractor. Please come in here and do the tile, the flooring. I can't even change a light bulb. So I got to go to my dad's. And it was so funny seeing the emails because it would have been like, hey, Jim, when are you available, bro? Next week. Well, okay, well, I don't know about that. I'm leaving for my. So I engaged this producer, Jim, and all of a sudden, literally like that afternoon, I see the emails going out to everybody. And I'm like, that's how you do it. And they're all showing up, like a day or two later at like a drum session. And literally, Greg Manning was done with a song like in 4 days. And all I had to do was just drop my sax on it when I came home from my dad's. But, that song came from that process, having a producer who's talented at getting players to come together with a focused vision. And I'm very laid back when I use producers. I don't micromanage anything. I don't. I've already vetted them. I know they're good. And I let him do whatever he wanted to. I knew he was good. And so he sent me the mix back, the first mix. I said, okay, great, I'm signing off. He goes, really? Yeah, I'm signing off. By now, usually people want the cowbell up or the snare's not loud enough. There's not enough echo or reverb. I go, no, I'm signing off. Are you sure, Will? Yeah,
Right.
I'm signing off. And then I think he did one more mix because he heard something he didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to be a creative person, Jim. I don't. If I have my hand micromanaging everything and nailing everything down, it doesn't feel like music to me by the time it's done.
Right, exactly. Then it's just, you could have just made it a computer, digital, whatever, and that's it. Right, exactly.
There's a percussionist that I use, Curtis McCain, that I just love. He's a young gentleman, and he's from Virginia. And I met him last year at a jazz festival, and I just thought he was a good human being and a great player. So I don't do radio singles now without him. I just thought, you know what? I want you to get some notice and some recognition from my end. And I don't tell him, I let him do whatever he wants. I don't say, I really want cowbell. And for me, when I listen to the music, I still to this day, any of that music, Jim, I go, wow, that is awesome. I'm glad I didn't micromanage any of that. It's always surprising me when I hear the colors, the cymbal work. And because, in this business, in production, you can see the same thing over and over again when you're editing. And some musicians get so tired of their product all the time.
Right.
My stuff feels fresh to me because I don't have to live with it that long. I hand it on to the next professional.
Who then, they bring it on. There's maybe a different perspective or some nuances they add to it as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. It sounds funny to say, but I don't know if the fans know, but when you produce music, you're rewinding. Let me get Jim's vocal. Okay, wait a minute, the last release. Okay, let me hear the whole thing. Let me hear it again. I don't get tired of my music in the production part. So
right.
It always feels fresh to me.
Fresh. Well, it's kind of like doing sometimes a television show or shooting a movie. Sometimes it's even done out of sequence.
Yeah.
And then other elements are added in. Sometimes, the middle is done before the beginning or the end, or just, and it all comes together based on people and timing and location and the different ears and the different sensibilities that are brought in from different people who are part of the project, right?
Well, yeah. And, I do kind of a show that curates musicians, and the management and my producer that does this, I secretly don't watch all of the test footage he sends me because I enjoy in real time, like going, I'm enamored with our own product. I'm like, oh my God, that was so awesome. And I think he figured out that I watch enough to make sure that, that I can honestly say I saw it, but I actually I love being surprised by it. I'm like, totally, I'm looking at it like a fan,
Right.
At least 2/3 of it, I'm like, oh my God, I know that guy.
I know that guy. That's him. That's him.
And it works for me. I would rather not be autopilotly not enthusiastic. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. It's what brings the energy and the enthusiasm, the passion for it. You're still like a little kid in a toy store. It's still exciting to you and imaginative and creative, and you're, excited to go in to do it. And that's a key. That's a key to, the product, the result of the phenomenal product that you put out, Will. And here's one of those examples right now with Infinite Soul. We're going to play that for the audience. Enjoy this, folks. And we hope you're enjoying this episode of the Jim Masters Show Live. This is Infinite Soul. And we'll be back with Will, who's an infinite soul himself.
Oh.
Here we go.
Oh,
I
that's the radio edit.
was going to say, did we talk too long for the intro and the band got tired? Here we go.
I think we have a video on YouTube of this too.
Do you have one? Because
Yeah.
maybe we'll cue that up. But let's see if we can.
Great video. There's dancing and there's beautiful folks on YouTube. Infinite Soul. You'll spot it right away. It's beautiful. Yeah.
There we go. Mm. That is so good. That is so good.
That's Greg Manning. You know, it's funny when you talk about smooth jazz,
Mm.
you know, I am branded as a high energy guy and I like that. So, you know, when you see other artists that can have more of a slow tempo, I'm kind of like the guy you take your gal out and go, this guy, you're gonna love this guy. You know, so you don't want me come out going la di da. Not that that's bad.
Right.
So my radio singles have to still have some mojo to them on the low end. Those
Right.
guys they're playing. Those guys are playing.
They're really doing it. Right.
They're really doing it.
Right.
I'm kind of being melodic on top with Greg, but those guys down there, they're doing a lot of this. You know, they're not effing. They're working.
They're knocking it out.
Knocking it out.
Juanita says, fun tune, South Africa, and beautiful and upbeat from Amy. Linda says, dancing and swaying to the music. Mary Bishop says, so nice, definitely a toe tapper. Very catchy, nice from Kathleen in New York City. Austin Field, another great song. Great beat, love it, from Linda in Florida. Really loving it. Loving the music. And you know what? Actually, now they were able to, because we played just the audio that we received, people could sort of visualize, like we were talking about how with instrumental music, you can create sort of your own visualization. You can create almost your own story, your own soap opera, you know, in your head. But now that they've done that, we are going to treat them with the song, because during that, as masterful as we are, we have the video as well. So now you've had your wonderful visualizations. Now here's Will's. Enjoy. Infinite Soul.
And that's a nice
You
video.
just hear the audio or you see the visuals, all of it is really fantastic. And again, that is one of those songs that you can actually listen to that several times, and what's cool about instrumental oftentimes is every single time you hear instrumental music, you hear different nuances, different instruments, different bridges, just different things about the music. Sometimes it comes at you the first time, then you hear it the second time, then you hear it the third time, and you're hearing all these different things that just make you appreciate it even more.
Oh, I totally agree. And
kudos to you. I could see why number one.
It's it's one of those catchy hooks. It's just the players on there.
It's still in your head. I still hear it.
It's just
which is a testament to a good. Yeah, I still hear the song is like continuing for me.
I have such a good time with the flute. So since I'm not a exclusively flute artist, I actually am having fun figuring out how to work it into the song. So I show up to the studio. I got my tools on.
Christine says all enjoyable songs. This
entire
conversation so very entertaining and upbeat. And Wozniak saying this is a very entertaining evening and the music is fantastic. Thank you for sharing with us. Juanita in South Africa, great video. Kathleen, all kinds of emojis, instruments, claps. Awesome video from Linda. Mary, yes, upbeat definitely describes the music and loving it. We actually have another one we'll be happy to share. Now, this one is Joymaker. Tell us about that one. I figured, you and I, maybe they call us joy makers in our own way. So I thought that this would be a cool one to sort of bring up. We have the audio of it. Tell us about it.
Now there's a good Joymaker video that might be good. It's good. It's very good. You know what? Joymaker is a song that my producer, who is so musical and just loves music and will call me in the middle of the day and he has no agenda. He just loves music from folks. And I said, what's really fun is why don't you get on my record? And he's had a really successful career, so he doesn't have to seek accolades. But I said, well, actually do this for me. Hum a melody you like into my phone. Call me and hum a melody. Well, I think he actually ended up, because he plays piano, he played a melody on his piano. And so I went home and I wrote a song from his melody, the chorus. And so now I said, okay, big shot. Now you're on the same album with Eric Valentine and Greg Manning. You're going to be. I said, believe it or not, now you're going to be on the All Music Guide as Guy writing song. So, it's kind of fun to pull someone in, and the song is the first song that I really did on this album where I played flute as the lead, and I really loved it. So it's my lead flute song. And it's called Joymaker, and I like that term Joymaker. I've kind of had that in my vernacular last year because I'm very conscious of people like yourself and your fans. You're joy makers, and it's a good thing,
As are you. Kathleen Walker says very talented. Gary Troyer watching in New York City says hi, Lovely Jim and Lovely Will, listening while working and thoroughly enjoying it there in cold and brisk Iowa.
Oh, yes.
So from your two joy makers here, Mr. Lovety and Mr. Joymaker, who's been crowned a Lovety, here is Joymaker. Enjoy this, folks. It's really a great one. And fill your glasses, get some ice while you listen and enjoy.
Hey! That's the goddess. Thank you, Linda. The Hubert Laws vibe, you know, the Hubert Laws.
Oh God, that is really.
It's a cool tune.
I'm
Joy
addicted.
maker.
I am addicted. Yeah, and that is a joy maker. Just listening to that. How long did it take you to, conceptualize and put that one together? Because that one's phenomenal. I mean, they all are. The whole I've heard everything in just previewing, but that one for some reason, along with the other ones we've played so far, there's something about that one. Like if their day just stunk today, and they heard that just sort of washes away everything that would make something seem so frustrating and annoying and stressful. Just you picture, like, I don't know, birds flying in the air and trees blowing and ocean waves and comfort, and just lowers your blood pressure, but yet it gets you moving at the same time. It's a wonderful mix.
You know, that song, just having my buddy being part of the writing process was what kind of inspired me to do that song. And I like a little bit of a challenge. So having to have his melody and, work a song with all the parts and pieces and put it together, which, it doesn't hurt when you probably know the name Daryl Williams is playing bass on there. And
Yeah.
a wonderful drummer, Ty Fleming, who plays with Al McKay, and a wonderful piano player who plays with Warren Hill and everybody. Tatang Katindig is his name. And once again, Curtis McCain is on that track. It was just so exciting for me to be able to have a flute-led song on the album. And that gave me a lot of satisfaction. Yeah.
No, the flute is just, again, it gives you that sense of comfort and solace and peace hearing the flute. You mentioned the Renaissance album, the Christmas album. We actually, for the purposes of people then now going on after the show and Googling and Amazoning and everything else, getting these, we have What Child Is This? And even though, again, these are songs you can listen to at any time of the year, but this is really beautiful. And I wanted to share it with the audience just to give a flavor of just one of the many great songs on that album and something they're very familiar with. So listen to this one, folks. I know you guys said you love Christmas music, but again, there's a few. So there's Scarborough Fair and other great songs on there. God. So this is just a little teaser for you folks when you run out and get it. But listen to this. I think you'll enjoy. I knew it would hit the spot with this crowd and beyond, and it has Juanita. Oh wow, happy place in the company of flutes, lovely. Amy saying so peaceful. Linda saying wow, so beautiful. Um, Diana Donato. This album is so beautiful. I listen to it year round. See, she's like me. I can listen
I
to
know.
Christmas music, and that's a beautiful. When I was hearing it earlier today, that really is a beautiful interpretation of a classic song like "What Child Is This?"
I have a funny story on the album too. So even though saxophone guy, and I had a
Sure.
Christmas CD out, the regular kind of Christmas CD that you do, like the Kenny G's that I do love. My wife and I loved this. We had this anonymous nylon guitar Christmas Renaissance CD. It was just a nylon guitar, Celtic, and we couldn't find it. And we bought that. We loved that CD, Jim. It was like, you know, even with all the catalog I haven't, all my friends with holiday albums, we love this nylon guitar CD. So we're like, well, what do we do? I said, why don't I just make one? I'm a musician. I guess I can make one. So I go, well, not a bad idea. We'll make our own nylon CD. So I know Terry Woolman and one of your New Yorkers, JD said, but I like the thought processes. We like, we're heartsick that we lost our little anonymous. We didn't even know where it came from. It was one of those unbranded CDs with nylon. I just love that Celtic feel. And it's just,
Yeah.
So I thought, well, why don't we just make one? So I set about doing that. And then I have one more story. I got to tell you this. So
Sure. Yeah.
I was really getting to the Irish Celtic flute thing in the process. And I'm using a regular Western silver flute. So I thought, well, I wonder about the Irish flutes. Maybe I could learn an Irish flute. So I thought, well, is this going to be like the harmonica thing where you have to own 12 flutes, you know, to play Irish music? Because they're real primitive looking instruments. They don't have a lot of chromatics on them. So I thought, well, you know, I don't really want to buy 12 expensive wood flutes, you know, crafted, you know, for an artisan. So I called an Irish folk shop. And I really thought, Jim, I was calling the Keebler Elf Factory. I could just tell it wasn't Sam Ash, New York. I could just feel I was calling the guy at the Keebler Elf Factory. And then what he said to me was so funny. I'll never forget this. I go, hi, I'm just so into the Celtic flute thing, and I'm playing it on the Western flute. I go, so tell me, break my heart now. Do I have to own like 12, like a harmonica guy with a holster and the Irish thing? He goes, no, we only play in one key. If you ever listen to the Irish carols, they're all in D. And I went, that makes sense. Guinness, a jam session. And he goes, once in a while we play in C, and once in a while we'll play in F. But the imagery of, they call them sessions, but you all get together somewhere.
Yes, they get together and they go in a circle and they jam with all the instruments. I've been a part of some of those. They're amazing.
But you know what's so funny is it totally makes sense. You know, you guys all know, you know, Mary and the Rock Bottom Quarry. Yep, what key is it in? It's in D. Right. Like, well, what key is the old Mary cow? It's in D. You know, I thought that makes sense. But I thought, oh Lord. Then I realized I better stick to the Irish flute. But you know those little nuances the Irish people do.
Oh, yeah.
And I did a lot of those on this album.
Yeah.
And It
You
was
should.
so fun.
And it came out brilliant, really. And that's just a little teaser, everybody, of what's on that album. You would probably enjoy the episodes that I did with actual friends of mine. We've actually had a lot of Irish artists on
Oh, I
from
love it.
Ireland. Some of
I
them,
love it.
Amir McGoon, who's a brilliant flautist,
Oh,
who is from Ireland and lives in London. She is extraordinary. And of course, one of the premier, who's a dear friend, Sir James Galway.
oh, I love
James
James
Galway.
Galway. Oh,
He
genius.
was on the show with his wife, Lady Jean Galway, and
Yeah.
she's from New York. He's originally from Ireland. They have a whole school. They teach. I mean, it's quite a thing. And they were live from their home in Switzerland, and it was
Oh,
just really. And Phil Coulter, as far as Irish
love
wonderful
it.
arrangers, and some of those episodes are on our YouTube channel, Jim Master TV. You'd
Oh,
probably
wow.
really
I'm going
appreciate.
to.
And
You know what?
yeah,
I'm a fan of this show. I love to be able to sit and learn. You know, it's funny. One of your New York flutists who passed away too young, Dave Valentine, was one of my inspirations of getting back into flute and the mannerisms. And it's just heartbreaking the way he passed from just a degenerative disease in his early
I
60s.
know.
But, you know, I like his whole artistry, and I patterned a lot of my artistry with him. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
and
you,
he was amazing.
I love cello too. Cello.
Cello is great.
And I'll mention it to you quick. I've mentioned it before on the show, but I was interviewing somebody in my professional hat in television and radio, and it was a Juilliard graduate cellist. We actually had a cellist, Stephen Chen, who I met through emceeing at Carnegie Hall concerts.
I've seen that
Yeah,
name.
yeah, Stephen Chen is brilliant. And he was one of the cellists in the orchestra that they brought on with my friend. I don't know if you know composer Tim Janis, but he's had about 10 or 12 public television specials, and he did a wonderful Irish special that I was a part of called Celtic Heart, which we filmed on the rocky shores of Maine. And then they went to Ireland, and it was on public television, and they brought in Mairead Nesbitt, the wonderfully talented Irish fiddler who used to be with Celtic Woman, the blonde who was always spinning around and so talented, and a lot of incredible, the harp twins and all these great people. And so Stephen and I were talking about this post the concert at Carnegie Hall, because Tim does a concert at Carnegie Hall every year, except this year, of course, called An American Christmas Carol. And it's to raise funds for autism research for Kate Winslet's Golden Hout Foundation for Autism. So they bring in all these performers and talent and Broadway people and singers and all kinds of different people, and a full orchestra and a children's choir. It's a really beautiful thing. So I was mentioning this to the person that is also a cellist in my professional work, and we were talking about the cello. And I said, for some reason, for me, whenever I hear the cello, that melancholy, authoritative, warm depth,
haunting too,
haunting. There's a haunting nature to it, and you probably know David Darling.
I've seen the name, but yeah, I'm a fan of the cello.
Listen to go on YouTube. Go on YouTube and just listen to the song called, it's on his Cello Blue CD, and it's called Children. And talk about haunting and gravitating and just reflective. It's like sort of the same thing repeated in different ways. It's absolutely haunting and beautiful. It's called Children. It's on Cello Blue, David Darling, and they actually have it on YouTube. You can actually see it play. But I said to the Juilliard grad, I said, for me, for some reason, I love all instruments, but for some reason, whenever I hear the cello, it stops traffic for me. When I hear the cello, I just it's got me. And I said, let me throw this out there to the cellist. I said, whenever I hear the cello, it reminds me if the human heart made a sound that mimicked an instrument because of the haunting, melancholy, warm depth, enveloping, monumental gravitas that I seem
Yeah.
to attach to that sound that goes right in, and goes right here. If the human heart were to make a sound
Wow.
that mimicked an instrument, um, to me, the cello would be that immediate thing. And he said, "Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense." He says, because it's one of the instruments closest in sound to the human voice. And that's why you are humanizing it. You're giving it human elements, and you're giving it this total respect and this feeling that you have for it because of the depth and the haunting nature. But it's one of the instruments that is the closest in sound to the human voice. And that's why it stops traffic for you. And then if you take a cello and you mix it with all these other instruments, and Christmas music does that a lot. They use a lot of cello a lot of times in Christmas music. That can really be. And then you add in a flute and, some of these other instruments, and pow.
Wow.
So what does Will Donato listen to? What would be in your, iPod, CD player, whatever it may be, your 1984 Onkyo stereo system in the den with the KLH speakers that are this tall, and what do you listen to?
Well, it's funny because I told you when you live out in Palm Springs, you have to go everywhere in the car. Now, I take a lot of crap from my buddies. Like, how can you drive so much? And secretly, my wife will tell you, if I know I have to drive somewhere to the dentist or a gig, I can't even wait. I'm not kidding you. I'll have a Mark Maron episode. Well, now I'm going to have a Jim Masters Irish flute. Jeez, now you've gotten more content for me. I really look forward to those drives. I really do. I have to be honest, it's not rush hour traffic, so I get to flow.
Right.
I will typically, listen to a podcast, then I'll get bored for a minute, not with a guest, but just like I've done it too long for an hour. And then I'll switch to music. Sometimes I have fun listening with a kind of purpose, like you talked about Galloway and Stephen Chen. If I program a CD that I'm working on, like the nursery thing or the Renaissance Christmas, I'm not kidding you. I'll listen to 20 different versions of Scarborough Fair, whatever comes my way on YouTube. It could be Stephen Chen playing it, Yo-Yo Ma. It could be Garfunkel. It could be, but the beauty with YouTube, getting to get 20 different versions of a song really helps me see the song from all different angles and to see if I could put it on the project I'm doing.
You sound like me, because I have like 20 different versions of almost every song. And I like to hear the different interpretations.
Yeah, no, I love that. And in fact, I'm going to do my holiday CD this year. If the things continue the way they are and the transition is slow, I wanted to do a follow-up to this and have a classical Christmas. And I know that title can border on pedestrian sounding, but I think the spin I'll take on it will be more like orchestral harp.
Yes, right.
Doing like, and I'll make sure the instrumentation is not hacky. I'll make sure it's very emotive. But so even just that, Jim, makes me go, oh, cool. Now I get to look for songs that have that kind of a holiday vibe. That are cliche, even things like Air on a G String.
Yeah.
That stuff like that is like, okay, cool. Let's see what Yo-Yo Ma's doing with that. Let's see if I can add something to it. With the cool thing about the flutes are on YouTube. I'm always shocked. I even tell this place I buy flutes at or shop for flutes. I go, how come all the good classical flute players, other than Galloway, don't take the time to record themselves? They're so good. It's just like they're waiting for a spot in an orchestra to, let the world know about how wonderful they are. Why don't they just go in a recording studio and, I know this sounds kind of silly, but, I bet some flutists in New York. They're amazing, but they're just like sitting there waiting for an orchestra.
For a gig or
they could do what I do.
They could do a solo or do a whole, or bring other guys in and just do a whole, right.
And I noticed on YouTube and iTunes, when I go to look for something, I go, oh my, seriously? There's not one version of Claire de Lune other than Galloway and an old recording from Ron Paul playing it? Really? You know, there's a couple of people in a recital playing with bad acoustics that somebody taped, but I'm always
From
amazed, Jim.
somebody's high school or something, right?
Yeah, well, and I'm saying that with love, but you know, here's my grad student playing Claire de Lune at Juilliard. Well, it's boomy and it's not the recording that we do, and I'm actually almost mystified, like thinking, man, I would die to have your chops. I go into a studio. I got to do calisthenics before I go in to play flute at the studio. You know, it's like, but anyway, that's just me. But you know, I love putting together album concepts, and part of it is just the fun of it. And you know, my wife is my producer on so many of these things, because if it doesn't pass the Diana Donato test, it's nice to have someone that isn't just musician-y and tricky.
Exactly.
And like, it's either like yay or nay, or I don't like that one. I've heard that too much. That sounds like you're at a wedding. Okay, cool. I get it. You know, but having a wife
but to have
just really objective is unbelievable. I'll come home sometimes and I'll go, man, this thing is hot. Listen to this. I don't like that synthesizer. All right. You know, and it's done joyfully and lovingly, but she's right. She's always right. That consumer ear.
Exactly. And sometimes that's what it takes, right? You got to have that extra ear. And I think that's really important, you know, to have that. And, you know, she knows you. She knows your style. She knows what you're passionate about. And she knows when probably, you know, it could be tweaked a little or what have you. Or it's like she's almost like that. She is that second ear, which I think is a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah, she does something that I love. She helps me set tempos, because
that's terrific.
I've played my whole life. I don't get to dance. I'm always the dancing maker.
Right.
And she loves to dance. So I'll go, what do you think of this radio single? It's too slow. And she kind of does this little thing to it and does a dance. And if it doesn't, and we've spent many hours in the studio before, I go, what do you think of 89 beats per minute? It's sexy, but it's too slow. What about 93? It sounds a little nervous now, you know. and I'm serious. It's been a deal. It's been a game changer when she sets the tempos, and we laugh about it. We get the biggest kick out of that, because if it doesn't pass her test, then I don't do them. You know, it's got to be the right tempo. And
I would imagine too that you probably are very visual, meaning that when you take like a long drive through a scenic area, you probably can almost think of a song, think of music based on what I know. I do that a lot. Almost like a third eye, a higher consciousness, whatever it may be, where what you're actually seeing as far as the silhouettes of the trees or the sun setting or the, you know, the sun going into the desert or the skyline of a city or whatever, you're already thinking of it musically, and you're looking at the shapes and the shadowing and in a musical way with musical notes. And you can almost think of music and create music based on what your eyes are seeing in your everyday life, and you're inspired by that. Taking a guess, and what I know of you, Will, I think that's pretty much a good deal of accuracy there, huh?
Yeah, you know, it's funny, because that time that you say that you get in that nice space, I mean, I almost have to put a lid on it when I tell people I have a drive. Like, I mean, I'm already thinking about something I have Saturday. I get to do a drive, but you know,
it's better that you put the lid on it and they don't tell you have to put the lid on it.
I just love driving, and I can listen to mixes. And
Me too. Yeah.
And I can listen. Okay, cool. That needs a look, like you said. But to your comment about, you know, the space, I have a theory, because I've driven so much in not traffic. I think when you're in a ar, your left brain is engaged with the mechanics of driving and the steering wheel. So your brain that's normally nervous and telling you you're not good, or you got to do something, you know, your taxes or whatever, your left brain is tricked into having to do the driving and looking and watching out for that car coming up on the right. So your right brain is free to just go, whew, I'm glad I don't have that nag telling me what I can't do. So when you're driving, just like when you go on a vacation in a mountain area, have you ever had that experience? Like, boy, when I get back, I'm going to get all my videos out. I'm going to organize them, and I'm going to get that portfolio sent back to NBC. And then you get back down the hill, and you're like, oh, forget it.
I'm going to have a sandwich.
Yeah, but that feeling where the limitless possibilities. The car, the left brain gets faked out. It has to do the driving, and the right brain's like, oh, good, I'm free. I could just go. Wow, like you said, the trees, the shapes. I'll listen to like a David Sanborn CD over and over again for an hour, listening to his stylistic nuances and see what I can incorporate into my playing or things like that. But the driving for me, I've programmed entire CD song selections in the car. I've done my research on, just calling up YouTube. Like, I did 5,000 versions, listened to 5,000 versions of Scarborough Fair before I realized I picked tempos. I figure out, okay, that's really nice. It's slower than the vocal. I can really do a lot of pre-production in the car.
That's right.
Some of the stuff you wouldn't do at the house. Like some of the stuff that you think about in the car, you're not going to do it in the house because there's just things and you're not going to do that kind of deep, pre-planning. And I really like that.
And you're inspired by the visual too of what you're seeing, the changing scene that's before you. And when you drive, that's what I love it when we drive from the Northeast here to Florida, or I did a drive which was not planned at all after a TV shoot in Las Vegas where I drove completely alone in August through Death Valley.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm with you. I've done that drive.
And that is
Laughlin or I was that one of the giant thermometer.
Those those are like life-changing sort of, you're really handing yourself over to nature, but you come out of it so incredibly inspired and so invigorated to want to create, to want to produce. Do you have to always create? You feel blessed, and not the busyness of it, but it's within you that you have to create. You're a born creator. You feel almost the most content when you're actually creating.
It's a funny question because it's a great question. I remember when I had the pleasure of interviewing Keiko Matsui, and the Japanese pianist, and she was so Eastern in her concepts, and they were very spiritual. Like, my co-host and my buddy Jack Cohen, we were asking her about songs, and she kind of looks up to the heavens and goes, my melodies just come to me, and I thought about that, and she receives them. She says, I receive these melodies, and for us in the Western world, we're like, well, yeah, I studied theory over at Cal State Fullerton, and I should be ready to do the song. Let me write this.
but for her, she's the conduit.
Yeah, but in reality,
her.
The way she says it
is the way it is.
I mean, when you plan a show, we're like, okay, I'm going to do this show. Where does that come? I mean, I'm not trying to be esoteric here, but I'm thinking, in the Western world, we're so programmed that, well, I know about theory and I can play a little bit of piano. So I guess
it's got to be in the textbook, right?
Yeah, like I'm typing this out. Well, I mean, I was in the car the other day coming up with a melody, and I go, wow, that's, sometimes you write these melodies and you just keep making them, and until someone tells you, like when Greg Manning, my producer on my last 3 Billboard tunes, he goes, Will, you really have a nice ear for melody. And you don't think of it like that. You just keep doing them. And you're like, because I have no frame of reference sometimes what, like to me, Jim, I've not had such a fluid interview in many years, but you're always in the scenario. You don't always get to be in the other seat. So you don't know, you don't have a perspective always on your skill set. And I'm a wannabe interviewer too. And I'm just like, wow, you really make long form conversation special and engaging. And,
appreciate that.
And
it's funny because I'll watch back stuff, for the heck of it, usually to critique, to fine tune, to tweak over the years. And for me, and I mentioned it on the show, I've had conversations with colleagues about it. And there are some people who won't listen to or watch anything that they've done. Yeah. Some movie actors, they won't watch their movies. They don't watch the shows they're in. They got to move, detach, and move forward. And I will watch when I come on TV or whatever the scenario is, I will watch it, but usually in the beginning, I don't like it right away. Everybody else loves. They're all
Yeah.
the producers, the colleagues, the family, the friends, whoever, the viewers. Oh, I love it. That was great. It's terrific. But for me, because like you're saying, I'm seeing it from this vantage point of looking out. I'm not seeing the flip. I'm not seeing the whole thing around me. I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at, and I'm not really looking at, before we went out live, I looked at all the different things out, but now I'm focused on this. So in order for me to appreciate it, I need to have a little space from it and have the emotional expectation that I've built up. I have to have some detachment from that high, that emotion of doing the actual work, because there's all that expectation, there's that self-imposed buildup, that striving for excellence, hearing little things that nobody else ever hears when you tell them. Don't you think, oh, I didn't notice that until you mentioned it. I'm like, why did I say anything? Those types of things.
Yeah.
So I will watch things that I've done. I'll pull out tapes from years ago of some of the first appearances on television, and I'll look at them now, and I'll be like, gee, everybody was saying that was great, and you really, you were just starting out, and that was terrific. To me, then, what are they kidding? I'm not, Johnny Carson, Dick Clark. I'm not those.
Yeah.
But now I'll look back and appreciate it. I'll say, you know what? At that level, under those crazy conditions in that live TV studio and all the chaos that went on, that was pretty good. I now understand, detached from the emotion and the expectation of it, I understand what they were saying. So sometimes it takes me a little time to, there's that shock value when I first pop on, and I'm like, because I'm looking at it with a critical eye. I'm looking at it as a creator, as an artist. I'm looking for the things, probably instead of looking at the things that are right, which everybody's saying, I'm looking for the things that are wrong or that could get better.
Yeah.
So now I'll watch stuff, even this series, the Jim Master Show Live. And sometimes I'll throw an episode on while we're doing something. And I'm like, you know what? That was actually pretty good. That was a funny line. Wow, that was really, boy, you really saved that person. They were falling off the chair or whatever. I'll appreciate what other people are saying more later, with a little detachment from the self-imposed expectation that I have. You find yourself that way sometimes a little bit? You're demanding the best from yourself?
I'll put another layer on top of what you're talking about, which I think is, you'll agree with this. Not only are you responding to your expectation of your performance, but we're all human beings. We all had a different day. Sometimes when I show up to a concert, I'll know that traffic was bad in LA. It was bumpy getting to the gig. So I'm on stage with that baggage in my head, but I'm just like a Letterman or yourself or a Carson. It's showtime. America does not want to know you had a bad day. So I'll watch myself at a concert and I'll have no idea that I had a bad day. Even you on the interview, as engaged as you are, you had a day that's maybe started with you didn't have the protein for your shake. That guy who didn't get your thing at Best Buy. And that's in our heads too somewhere, but you look at the show and go, man, I'm smooth, and I always laugh. Right? When I look at myself playing at a venue sometimes, and I think, oh my God, traffic was so horrible.
If they only knew.
And I felt so bad. And I look at it, I go, wow, shame on me. I still look like I'm connecting with the audience. I know what was in my head. And and it's not fake. I'm just saying that in addition to assessing how you are critical of yourself, just knowing all that noise in your head, to still show up to work, do the craft. And so that always fascinates me too. Like, I'll watch shows that we do with my friend Jack, and I'll go, in my head, I'm going, that was a dumb question. You hesitated too long before you said something. And I'll look at myself and go, well, it wasn't a long hesitation. It was just right. The things that you think when you delay on a question or follow-up, it's perfectly smooth when you go back and watch it. You thought, we think we're tongue-tied. And I'll tell you one thing, though. What I like about your show is when it was always a conversation. It was never an interview. And I hope the fans and friends know this is what we would talk about if we were having a coffee. I mean, are we a little bit conscious that we have to have a lot of content coming? We would just go, man, this deli is real busy today. But
Right.
we could be doing this over a cup of coffee, and that energy that you have creating that is what disarms your guest and gets us to really feel comfortable. And I think that's a good quality.
I appreciate that. Well, I'm a Libra, so we're all about balance and harmony.
Libra, October 8th.
September. Oh, see, there you go. This is why it's clicked right away. September 24th. So we're right there.
And Diana, my wife, is the 6th.
See, that's what it is. Yeah. That's there is something, there's an energy and there is something there. It's amazing, right? Because I feel as though you and I have chatted. Like sometimes people will watch these shows or even my professional work. They're like, boy, and there are people I've known for years that have come on, but it's as if we have known each other for many years just because there's an automatic repartee that is effortless. And we're sort of having a wonderful tennis match.
Yeah.
And we're both going to win, which is the best way anyway. But it just has that coolness, and it's the Libra thing.
I appreciate it. You know what? I am really inspired because I've listened to so many conversations with even Mark Maron, and I'm really a fan of how he tracks people's, he'll slow you down. He'll go, well, let's go back like you did. Even though I've got some mojo to keep going, you'll say, well, tell me about your family. You'll keep track of where we're at. And well, I'll tell you what, I don't know if it's okay to wrap up. I'm going to get back to my recording. I'm
Absolutely.
doing over here.
Absolutely.
It really was a blast. And
oh, it was fantastic. It was fantastic.
I love the loveties. I love you guys.
When you take off to continue your production there, we're going to play You Got This.
Oh, now can I tell you a story about this song?
I was going to say, tell us beforehand. And I just thought it would it's such a perfect segue to what you and I just talked about for the last 5 minutes. You got this.
With this song, my daughter and her husband had their baby, and I could tell they were so worried about it. And I said, you got this. And they're like, oh my God, it's a title. I mean, but it applies for everybody. But no, it's funny about this song, and I get a kick out of it. So the last song, Infinite Soul, was Billboard #1. Got all the kudos. You Got This never hit the #1, but it was groove jazz song of the year because I released it early, and it had the most spins over Boney James, Chris Bodie, Kenny G.
Yeah,
Did it get the victory lap peak #1? Nope. But I call it my song, The Guy in the Corner Office song. Are you still here? Yeah, I'm here. What does that guy do? I don't know. His song's still here, and other artists had #1s, but the song Slow and Steady won the race. And one of my team members said, Will, did you see the Facebook? You Got This was the most played song of 2020. And I didn't even know, because I saw everybody else getting nice well-deserved victory laps on #1s, and I was like,
it's so apropos.
It was so funny to me.
Well.
I was laughing. It was just so funny.
It's incredible, but it's also so apropos because, how many times have we needed to be reminded in 2020, you got this? You know what I mean? When we're doubting ourselves, because 2020 and into 2021 has been a real time of reflection and pivot, and people are looking at their lives, their relationships, their careers, what they want to do, going forward with their lives. And some people have been doubting themselves and their abilities and their previous successes or failures. And hearing You Got This, we've all collectively got this.
Yes,
is really a beautiful thing. So the timing is really, really cool. And again, who else loves that idea? Mr. George Burns. Talk about somebody who's got this. You've got the blessing from God. Remember when you played God?
You're like the Swiss Army knife of human beings. You got a virtual host. You got your skill set. I love it. Well, I want to tell the loveties. I loved it. And you're still there. I'm digging you, and thanks a lot. I just had such a good time. Your friends are so great, and Thanks for having me.
My
It was a blast.
pleasure. Juanita says, thank you, Will, for your time. It was
Thank you so
very
much.
entertaining and fun. Love your beautiful music. Keep well. Gary says, thank you, Will. Spending time your evening with us. Maureen says, love it. He's a very special connection. Never met anyone in person yet, but I feel like we're all family. Thank you, Mr. Lovety. And everybody had such a wonderful time. Thank you, Will, for spending the time with us and sharing your beautiful music. Everybody really loving it. Kathy Short, Cleveland saying, such a wonderful evening, loving all this music. And also a number of them have been going to Amazon, to your website, and they're already, or they're very responsive, the Lovities. So they've been ordering your music already, and we'll show the website again. Thanks so much, my friend, for joining me at this extended time. You're welcome back anytime. We'll keep the porch light on for you. And obviously, we don't have to chat this long next time, but it wanted to get people to really understand the brilliance of what you do. And it was really a wonderful opportunity to break bread with you. And I hope we do have that cup of coffee in person soon. And I hope the show met whatever expectations you had, and that it you enjoyed your time with me as much as I have with you, Will.
You're really a talented person, my friend, and I just really had a blast. It was definitely you were a game changer today. Thank you.
Along with the Joy Maker.
I know.
What a team. What a team. And Diana and the Lovities. Oh my God.
Awesome.
Thank you, my friend. I know you got a busy night of production, so we'll let you slide off for that. Go stretch those legs.
I know.
I tell that to all the guests. And you take care, my friend.
Thank you, Jim.
And thanks, Diana, for the wonderful comments as well.
She's a sweetie. Thank you, brother.
Take care. Bye-bye now. Isn't it brilliant to have an opportunity to really have a good, solid conversation like that, and also hear the music played with the creator right here? Yes, please come back, says Linda. We've got another song we're going to play for you as well. He's got a busy night of production, so we want to make sure he's scooted off for that. And we appreciate all his time. When he comes back, I say to all the guests, when they come back, we don't have to chat this long the next time they come back, but many like to, it seems, because they're so comfortable. But he was just great. I'm glad that, and I thank my friend Terry for recommending him, and for his team as well, for everything that they did to facilitate this, Robert and everybody at Sundial. We thank them very much. Thanks for such an uplifting evening together, sharing your musical talents, passion with us, fun, inspiration, stories, terrific music. You're a great Lovety. He really is, isn't he? He's a great Lovety. Got another song here for you, folks. You Got This, which is the song that he was just talking about seconds ago, and he gave you the scoop on this song. I think it's a really, really good song to play. Thank you, Diana. We will see you hopefully in person, either in Palm Springs, maybe when I'm on a TV shoot project in California, LA, or what have you. I'll let you guys know, and stay in touch. And if you're here on the East Coast, ring me up and we'll get together as well. Great talents there. And here's another song. This is the song that he just talked about, folks. You Got This, which I think is a really good song for our audience, or for anybody, but especially the Lovities, because we talk about inspiration, positivity, and good vibes here on the show, and lots of Lovities. So for all of you watching from around the world, whether you're watching live or you're watching this on demand, we encourage you to and welcome you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content. Also, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jim Masters TV as well. So here's a positive way to wrap things up. And then I'll be back with a couple of thank yous right after you hear this great song from the one and only Will Donato, our guest tonight. You Got This. I tell you, that's funny. It needs to be, it's been paused, so that's why. Well, maybe you don't got this, but you give it another shot and then you do got this. Let's bring it up again. I think it was paused while we were talking about it. Here you go. You got this. Nice and smooth. What a nice way to wrap up the show, wouldn't you say? You got this, and you certainly do, because we always talk about that on the show, don't we? We always talk about, when we have our fun, and we have our great guests, and this is an entertainment lifestyle talk show series where we're bringing back the lost art of conversation, and we talk about and feature so many different topics, not just music, not just television, not just actors and actresses, not just performance, but everything you can think of that involves life, just about. And that's why there's so much variety on the show, because we're bringing back the lost art of conversation and entertainment and variety, like the old school entertainment lifestyle talk show series used to do. And some of the talk shows of today still do as well. Different guests, different topics, all kinds of cool things. And that's what we do. That Valentine's Day host chat episode we did, wasn't that cool? That was really, I watched that back. That was a lot of fun. We almost went 3 hours with that show. And then the day, that was on Saturday. And then we did almost 4 hours with Brian Dunphy from the High Kings, wonderful Irish singer, songwriter, and musician, good friend, known him for years, Brian Dunphy. If you didn't see that episode, that was amazing. He played live. We had a lot of music, a lot of Irish crack. His wife popped on. The dog Roxy was on live from Ireland. It was really a great episode. You can see all of the episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. And there's almost 300 episodes there to see. that we've been doing daily. Good night, Mr. Lovety and Loveties, and must move or dance to this. Great. Get your groove on. You got this. And really fantastic all evening. Thanks, Jim and Will. Our pleasure. Beautiful music from Linda. This was a fun show. Thank you, Jim, with the bonus of fantastic music. Keep well, everyone, and good night. Thank you, Juanita. You sleep well, and wonderful show. Amy is saying, before everybody wraps, just want to show you some amazing guests we have coming up. Tomorrow night, we have an iconic Hollywood legend who's going to be with us, and that is Hank Garrett. Hank Garrett was in the very popular television series Car 54, Where Are You? Voice of G.I. Joe, countless commercials, films, television. He's a wonderful, iconic actor and comedian, a legend, a Hollywood legend. And he's here tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Jim Masters Show live. You're going to love it. He's amazing, and he's going to be here live from Los Angeles. That is tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on our YouTube channel. Spread the word, spread the word. Again, that's going to be amazing. And then a return visit from one of our great friends. And she has a whole bunch of new exciting things to share with us. Tiffany Moore, who is a dear friend. We actually met at Carnegie Hall when I was emceeing, and she was there as well. And she's going to perform live. She's got all kinds of cool things in store for us. That is on Thursday Night Live, a night of fabulous music, wonderful violinists and Irish fiddler live from Chicago. That is coming up on Thursday evening. Tiffany Moore is going to be here. And then, wow, we've got Kenny James. Yes, Kenny James and Terry Woolman, who was a guest on our show, recommended Kenny. And Kenny is another legend, a renowned singer, incredible performer and entertainer. He's here on Friday night, and it's going to be incredible. He's going to perform live. We've got all kinds of great music. He's a terrific guy. Another guy filled with heart and soul and vim and vigor. He's going to be here on Friday night. We're so looking forward to that. That's going to be amazing. And then on Saturday, we're going to have a lot of fun as actress, yes, and producer Elaine Ballas is going to be here on Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on the Jim Master Show live from Los Angeles. A brilliant, and very funny, filled with vim and vigor herself, actress Elaine Ballas is going to be here. And then something very special on Sunday. We're going to be here exclusively, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. This is Elise Jewell. She hails from Dallas, Texas. She is she's only 16 years old, and she's already won the 2019 John Lennon Songwriting Contest. She's a brilliant performer, singer, songwriter, and actress, and she's amazing. Elise Jewell is going to be live from Dallas, Texas. That's going to be on Sunday. She's going to perform live. You're going to be probably introduced to her maybe for the first time. She's all excited. She's very popular. And again, she's won all kinds of awards, and she's a fantastic person, very loving person inside and out. And she just is all excited to be here. And again, she's winning accolade after accolade, and she's going to perform live here exclusively on our show on Sunday. And just to remind you as well, coming up, we've got a bevy of great guests, but the one and only Dee Wallace, who you know from E.T., that's right, the extraterrestrial, the wonderful movie, and also The Hills Have Eyes, The Howling, Murder, She Wrote, Police Woman, The Streets of San Francisco. I mean, if it's television, if it's film, whatever, stage, Dee Wallace has done it. And she's got 3 new movies and 2 television shows coming out. She's going to be here coming up in March, exclusively on our show, and I'm looking forward to that. Also, those of you who love music, Thursday, March 4th, the young Irish group, the Byrne Brothers, who lived in with their family in Dublin, and then they moved to Donegal, and now they live in Orlando, Florida. They're going to be here and they're going to do a concert for us exclusively on Thursday, March 4th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Jim Masters Show Live. So a wonderful breadth of different guests. This is very exciting. Again, they're going to be here and they're going to perform live for us, which is really, really cool. They're going to do a very special concert performance. And there they are with their dad, Tommy, who performs with them as well. We thank again our wonderful guest, Will Donato. I'm sure you've heard his music before. If you hadn't, and this was your first taste of it, great stuff. And again, the album Elevate, the song, of course, and there you go. Single, and so many other albums as well. I just want to show you some of the covers. We didn't get to all of them, but he's got a lot of material out over the years, and you can easily take a look at some of it. I've always enjoyed smooth jazz, so I'm a big fan, aficionado, collector, and I've had an opportunity to interview several of the ladies and gentlemen. Of course, Mindy Bear is great as well, but some amazing stuff. And of course, there's the Christmas one that we played. What Child Is This From? Renaissance Christmas. And he's got the other previous Christmas one as well. You can find it all on Amazon and Spotify and willdonato.com and other locations. So we thank you for your time, gang. As always, this was an epic one, 3 hours and 10 minutes. Whew. But did you miss us the last? We took 2 days off. Sunday was Valentine's Day. And of course, we did an epic Saturday. We were on the air live for 8 hours. We did Brian Dunphy from the High Kings for a number of hours. And then we had that cool host chat, Lovity Valentine's Day show that everybody's still talking about. And a lot of people are still watching. That was a lot of fun. And it was so great engaging with all of you. And we had such a wonderful time on that show. But hope you enjoyed yourself tonight. And as we always say, don't forget to smile and share the smiles. That's infectious. Don't forget to share the lovity. Don't forget to find your Zen place. Living here along the coast in the northeastern United States, the ocean has always been a Zen place for me. The ultimate is time with loving family and friends. And then my work in television and radio and multimedia and stage, all the different platforms and stations and venues over the years is another Zen place. The work that I do, like, of course, with Will Donato, one of his Zen places is when he's doing his thing on stage or in the studio, creating great music for all of us. And of course, the ocean for me, swimming, surfing, boogie boarding, sailing, floating in it, walking it. The ocean is definitely a go-to place for me. And of course, you can find the Jim Masters Show Live, entertainment lifestyle talk show series. There I am. Daily, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. YouTube, Jim Masters TV. And sometimes we also do it on Facebook as well, but definitely on the YouTube channel. So hope everybody is doing well. I hope you guys are okay. And we had a busy week. I'm on the air professionally with my professional work. Sunday was Valentine's Day. Monday, I was very busy with the professional work in television and radio, so we were off that day. But our week continues of incredible episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. Thanks for joining us, gang. One more thing that we always do, we say relax. Don't forget to relax, breathe, love one another, and make sure and breathe from the diaphragm. It's really good to do. And don't forget to take time to love yourself too. Not in an egotistical, narcissistic way, but in a way that reminds you of the value that you bring to the table. You know why? Because relax and you got this. That was so perfect. I wanted to end with "you got this" because we're always trying to impart, some not only information and knowledge building and levity and lovity, but also some inspiration as well. Maureen says, take a look at a couple of goodbyes here, and then we'll wrap up. We'll see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Good night, everyone. Sending levity and hugs till we meet again. Wasn't it a great show tonight? Really, really cool. Thanks for joining us, everybody. You guys are the best. And all the new folks. Good night, everyone. Sending levity and hugs till we meet again. Love that. I'll say that twice because I love it. Good night, everyone. Take care. Mary as well. And Gary. Good night, Jim and all lovities. You as well, Gary. And Kathy Short says, a very smooth evening, the best kind. In our fancy martini glass. Looks like a fancy martini, right? It's just water. It's just H2O, pure water. Water. Yeah, it's just water, folks. That's all it is in the fancy glass. It's really good to have just water to lubricate your vocal cords when you talk a lot for a living. Linda says, good night, Mr. Loveday. Good night, Lovedays. Glad you guys like the shirt, too. This is the television debut of this shirt. First time being seen publicly. I must move or dance. I agree. Absolutely. Thank you very much. And you guys have a wonderful evening. Christine says, thanks, Jim, for this upbeat, groovy night together with Will, entertaining conversation and music. And good night, Jim, and see you all tomorrow. Lovely when we have Hollywood iconic actor and comedian Hank Garrett with us on Wednesday, Thursday, wonderful violinist and Irish fiddler Tiffany Moore. Friday, incomparable, renowned singer extraordinaire Kenny James is going to be here. It's going to be really cool. And then she's a riot actress, Elaine Ballas. She's all excited. She's going to be here on Saturday. And then introducing a new artist to you, Elise Jewell, 16 years old, and she has won so many great awards. She's really up and coming, rising in the ranks, and she's going to be here. It's going to be quite a wonderful show on Sunday as well. All right, gang, Jim Masters here, thanking you for your time. This time till next time. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for joining us on the Jim Masters Show Live. You have a wonderful rest of your evening or your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.